Empty. He keeps. He's got the angle. He's got the power and the score.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Elliott's got a lot of space on the outside right. Hayner to the end zone. Touchdown, Fresno State. Jalen Cropper.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
First the throw's picked off. It's Trayvon Diggs down the sideline. Nobody's going to catch him. House call. Trayvon Diggs pick six. Touchdown Dallas.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Bohannon on play action, throws off his heels to the end zone, and the catch is made for the touchdown. Tyquan Thornton.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. We ought to have, for you, we hope, one heck of an entertaining 3 hours. Robert Griffin III, who's going to broadcast the game with Mark Jones on Saturday in Stillwater, had a media session today, and we'll have that for you, pretty much all of it at 4 o'clock. Mac Rhodes today at 4:20. I don't think I've ever had more people tell me what they wanted me to ask Mac Rhodes than maybe the last 3 or 4 days or so. And then, of course, also we'll check in today with Fresno State. As part of our lineup today on Sikkim 365 Radio and also on 365 Sports. Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership today, and we'll be on until 6 o'clock today. Let me see here. Oh, Joey Foster. A lot of you on the YouTube channel know Joey. He's a very passionate West Virginia fan. So I received a text from him. He goes, oh, by the way, I'm okay. Everything's fine. And I was like, Joey, I don't know why you wouldn't be. And apparently in the middle of all the weekend when you get texts and games and all that stuff, he had told me he was going to have a heart catheter put in. And so I was like, I don't know what's going on. And so I hope Joey doesn't mind this because he's a great part of the show. I'm sorry, I thought I told you I had a new heart catheter done today. And maybe you just didn't get the message. I said, take care and go put your phone down. So, Joey, we're glad you're doing okay. And he kept texting me, like, even into the afternoon. So, Joey, great to have you. I'm glad you're doing okay, Joey Foster. All right. Now, I had 2 or 3 people send me articles about the AAC, and they're, looking at Boise State, among others, and that Boise State had said no. We had that, did we not?
Yeah.
Like maybe even last week, we had mentioned it's still, to me, to this day, Boise State and Memphis are 1A and 1B, but they had turned down the AAC. I don't know why that's news that's being written now, because it seemed like we had that news maybe about a week ago. Craig, how you doing today?
Doing good.
Good?
Yeah, I don't know that we said that outright. I think we alluded to it. I remember having the conversation of if you're Boise State and the American comes calling and you're wanting to leave your conference, but you think the Big 12, like we had this whole conversation, but you think the Big 12 is going to potentially offer you, what do you do in that situation? If there's an opportunity, but the other opportunity that you're waiting for is maybe not a guarantee. So does Boise State have some kind of indication that, yeah, they're first in line and they're going to be guaranteed a spot in the Big 12 moving forward? Because otherwise, can you really afford to turn down a better opportunity somewhere else? We talked about that, and it appears that, yeah, that's exactly what Boise State will potentially do, and maybe someone else as well, like a Memphis. If there is – now, obviously, Memphis is already in the American, so they're not exactly looking to leap anywhere outside of a move up, whereas Boise is looking to get out of the Mountain West. But, yeah, I mean, we pretty much said that was a possibility, and just wondered, how much of a gamble that really was to maybe pass on something just for the hopes of something else, because sometimes that works out, sometimes that doesn't. I would have to imagine there's a reassurance of some sort or some kind of thing to chew on for officials at those schools to believe that they could pass on something for something else.
Yeah, you don't turn that down if you don't at least know there's a carrot out there. That and, of course, with Jeremiah Dickey, connections to Mack Rhodes and Baylor, among others, like Houston, he's there as well. Dr. Livingstone's going to be in Washington, D.C. this week in front of Congress.
Bummer.
Testimony on the student-athlete's name, image, likeness, which we have something else on that as well today with college athletics constantly changing every day. I tell you what, to have Baylor at the seat, at a seat at the table, testifying whatever you may think of Congress is a pretty damn big deal.
Yeah.
And we know that Mack Rhodes and other schools that were left out, including Bob Bowlesby, they testified in front of the Texas legislature a few weeks back after the Texas and Oklahoma story left. But she's a student athlete. Her daughter's a student athlete. She's the president of the university. So she kind of knows this from different parts of angles of being whatever name, image, and likeness might be, and also at the fact she runs a university. And so that'll be interesting to see what she does get to say or get to testify and mention tomorrow. Now, how about this one? The National Labor Relations Board, that they're saying that student athletes can be considered or should be considered employees with all of the protections of the NLRA, the National Labor Relations Act. Unionize, collectively bargain over wages and hours and other terms and conditions of employment. They will also be entitled to other tax benefits, employee benefits, workman's compensation. On the flip side, this is from somebody I respect as an attorney, not a tax lawyer, but if they are employees, I assume their compensation scholarship is going to get taxed. This could turn into a real mess, not to mention what's happening with NIL anyway.
Well, you got to be careful what you wish for. Okay, well, the student athletes want to unionize. Okay, unions are good and bad, and unions are good because if you don't have unions in a lot of cases, you leave it up to big business. Believe me, they're going to screw you. That's what they do. And unions protect employees, but sometimes unions can get too powerful, i.e. police unions have probably gotten a little too powerful in different parts of the country in that there hasn't been a punishment for a lot of wrongdoing of police officers in certain places. It's gotten a lot of coverage. And the other thing about it is, okay, Title IX, if you start collectively bargaining things and non-revenue sports get together and say, we want this, as long as you are compliant under the terms of Title IX, or there's going to have to be some kind of update that you have to have this many scholarship athletes on campus, which no one does, schools will just start eliminating things that they don't make money on. They'll collectively bargain with football and basketball if they have to, because it's a moneymaker. But at the end of the day, I've never heard of one single thing in the history of labor relations where you cost money to someone and then you go and you tell them, well, we would like to collectively bargain. They're like, yeah, we're going to collectively bargain you off of campus.
Well, Craig has made a comment about this, and I know that there's always it really was not even a discussion. Of course, everyone just was used to it. And what the NCAA was a powerful entity about student athletes. They got an education. They got a chance to get an education. And now you've seen it completely go 180. Now they're getting, the cost of tuition. They're getting swag, travel, meals, scholarship, now name, image, likeness, and much more. And hey, I'm not against whatever they can get, but when you start to get a little bit like high and like up in the stratosphere, there are things that could come back and boomerang you.
Yeah, I saw this story a couple of weeks ago starting to bubble up, and, it's hard to tell with the media nowadays of what truly could end up being a big deal and what might not be, because they blow everything so out of proportion. And we've had dud after dud that turned out like, oh, look at this massive story, and just peters out, like the whole NCAA basketball scandal. Like, whatever came of that, really? Like, did college basketball change?
No,
not even close. But remember at the time, it was like, this is going to change everything with college basketball. And, like, not even a single thing has changed, basically. Once you start getting unions involved, there's a lot of conversation right now about, well, does this mean that this would be taxable? Or does this mean that this would, be something the athletes have to pay? Or does this mean that the schools will have to do? Like, I don't know all that stuff. I'm not smart enough to know every little detail of what this will cost a student athlete versus what this will cost a university. I know it just doesn't sound very good, and it doesn't sound very promising for the future of college athletics. Again, don't have enough details to understand what this would look like in a grander scale across the sports, but I can't imagine this is, potentially good news for smaller athletic programs that don't have a whole lot of money. I think that, the government and student athletes are basically hand in hand, just full bore careening into like the breaking down of college athletics, although they think in their heads that they're just doing what's right. And in some cases they are. Like name, image, likeness, that needed to happen. Like there's no argument against that. But it does seem to be like we're in a pattern of give to the student athletes. And I understand that for a really long time, it was the NCAA that was taking from the student athletes. But there's got to be a balance. And it seems like we've gone from where the NCAA had everything to now where it's all about the student athletes. And the NCAA is piled up like, they're worse than the Baltimore Orioles. Like, they've taken so many losses recently. I don't know. There's got to be
they didn't have a loss last night, by the way. I had to throw that one in.
Yeah, that's true. But, there's not a middle ground. It's now swinging so far the other way. Yeah. And I don't know that everybody involved realizes, like, yeah, whilst this area may be good for student athletes, like, they're protected or they're getting more money. But, like, on the flip side, there's going to be some collateral damage as well. And are we going to be all happy that, the football player can make $1 million a year at Miami, but, like 10 women's soccer programs have been wiped out because schools just simply can't keep up with all of the changes going on? Like, there's going to be some ramifications. I don't want to predict, like, doomsday because, again, I don't know all the details, but this just doesn't seem like a positive step forward for college athletics.
You know how you slow this down? When women's sports start to get knocked out. That will be
if it comes to that,
hell to pay. And here's some of the chat room from Sooner JJ. If the players become university employees, what prevents lawyers from suing on behalf of injured players? And we mentioned that Jeff Grimm, unionizing will hurt women's sports and most men's Olympic sports. Those are just a couple of those responses we had today.
And Craig makes a great point of how things swing. We do things in the world now that swing one way to the other. And the best things we have ever accomplished as human beings all happen in the middle. Everything good happens in the middle, not in the extremes. Everything good happens in the middle.
Because we're in a society where either you're yes or no, you're either right or wrong, or you're either blue or you're red. And it's kind of started that. It's where it all started. I'm not getting into politics, but I am, because it seems like nobody can agree even if both benefit from it.
And you hear this a lot about, NIL is kind of overlapping with the same attitude towards social justice, where there are a lot of great things that have come because of the awareness of social justice and the rise of that. The problem is that you hear people going, well, these people had it so good for so long, we need to make it uncomfortable for them. Well, no. That's not what social justice is. Social justice is the meeting in the middle and the understanding and the living together. And that's what's happening in college athletics. If you're going, okay, well, now we're going to try to get all the wins that we can, but what's the end game? The end game will wind up, you haven't asked the question, okay, what happens to the sports that don't make any money? And when you got NIL, essentially NIL was everything you'd ever wanted. It really was. It's not a salary from the school, but it's...
I thought just getting the cost of tuition was pretty damn good, because that wasn't even a part in play.
But when you get NIL, you can make money off your name. You can go do things. You can make deals outside the university. All these things happen, and the potential is there, but now...
And that's not enough.
It's not enough, and you're going to keep grabbing until there's not something to grab.
We don't know if this is just something the National Labor Relations Board just decided they would just say, okay, it's time for us to do this. By the way, Girl Friday 85, unionization will be the death of college athletics. Tony Altimore, who's going to be on with us this week, he's the one that does all the graphics and images. Big 12 schools spent $158,000 per non-revenue athlete.
That's not enough. They go to school and they practice a lot. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not trying to be a smartass about it, but I mean, I've said time and again of, the fact that I think it's ridiculous how, of all the narratives that college athletics has lost control of, the narrative that these are like basically, Nike shoe workers in Cambodia that are 11 years old and get paid nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's how you would think the college athlete is treated. You would think that they're basically sweatshop workers overseas making our tennis shoes for us. But instead, I see a lot of money being thrown around in the direction of athletes, nowadays, between the food and the board, the gear, the free classes, the free everything, really, a whole lot of free stuff. And what they spend is their time, and they spend their effort and emotions and all of that. And that counts for something as well, even though it doesn't have a monetary value. But yeah, when you look up at that final total that like Baylor or Texas or whatever they bring in at the end, like you do subtract numbers from that too. And a lot of that is going to you in a roundabout way, but it's treated as though like they don't get anything. They're just constantly having to work and no play, and it's a narrative that got lost from the NCAA, and part of that needed to change, no doubt. They were making a lot of money off the backs of athletes, and they still are to an extent, and some of that's starting to even out. But I think again it's a narrative battle that they lost, that it's as one-sided as people think that it is.
Well, we have a student athlete and one hell of a player, Sincere McCormick of UT San Antonio. He was honored again for the second time. He was honored all throughout the nation, but also the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award honored Sincere McCormick for the Player of the Week. He joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, and what a win coming off the win against Memphis. Sincere, thanks for your time. You've gotten a lot of attention before, and I know it's all about the team. We love your head coach and Jeff Traylor, but what really shocked me when I saw your stats, when you guys were down 21-0, you still ended up with 42 carries. What does that say about keeping to the game plan and just chopping wood to get back in the game?
It says a lot. Our team, we bring that triangle. We was destined to run that ball against a team like Memphis. They haven't really been pressured to, people running the ball against them. And we had to showcase that, I had to do whatever it took to, win the game, taking 40, 50 carries. It doesn't matter as long as, to get in that end zone or win the game. And luckily we got guys like Hunter Duplessis to, make the game-winning field goal. So, taking that load, didn't mean much, but we just going to make sure that triangle travel, and we're going to be, physical running that ball.
What is it compared? So if you say you had 21 carries, just half of it, what did you feel like compared to a 21 carry game after that one?
I mean, after the game, I feel the same. Like I told them before, I feel like I still run a track meet or something, but after that game, it was just, I felt good after the game. I didn't feel hurt or nothing like that. My body used to enduring a lot. So, after the game, it didn't really faze me at all. So, that's just the type of person I am.
Sincere, my mother Cindy works for the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award. She wanted me to tell you hello. That she's definitely had you. Yeah, had you on the list a few times. I knew Jeff Traylor a little bit and definitely followed his high school teams back in East Texas. And Smokey here knows him on a very personal basis. Can you begin to describe just the impact that he's had there at UTSA with the culture, the attitude, the winning, all of that?
He's a great guy, meeting him for the first time, after, guys like Frank Wilson, he's the one who recruited me originally. And then, a person like, Jeff Traylor coming in, and I had to get used to it because I'm like, I've never been through this where a coach gets fired and coach get in. So it took time for me to adjust to him. But as he speaks and the things he was talking about and the way he was living by it, made me comfortable with myself and made me comfortable in being able to trust him. I don't trust too many people, in my lifetime, but, the stuff that he was doing for us and the stuff that he was committed to helping us and becoming a better program. Instilling a culture into us was the best thing that could ever happen to UTSA program. With him instilling a culture, people like some of the older guys, they, trust the process and they had integrity, the pillars that he brings, with that. And then instilling to, UTSA, it meant a lot for us. It meant so much, that the guys could look up to something and the guys after us can, follow. So, with him, bringing that into the UTSA, it meant a lot for us. It meant a lot for us and all the other guys, especially not just the impact in UTSA, the football team, but the community itself. San Antonio is the 7th largest city, and just for people just to recognize him, what he's doing for the program is huge.
You mentioned that it sometimes was tough, or it can be tough for you to trust some people. Is there something that kind of led to that you now can get to the point, or is that just kind of making sure you know who you're talking to?
Yeah, it just makes sure know who I'm dealing with, what kind of person I'm dealing with. I'm the type of person, not more of words, I'm more about action. So if you show me what you preach, I can go by it. Just like he said, trust is truth over time. And, over time, he showed me so much. I can't deny it. He's a great guy, great character. I love the man. I run through a brick wall for him.
Sincere McCormick, running back at UT San Antonio, with us on 365 Sports YouTube and also Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sincere, what does it mean to you to be playing? You're from Converse, to be playing at UTSA, to be a San Antonio guy, to have your roots there and to be part of that UTSA team?
It means a lot. Just being here, coming from Converse, just in a powerhouse program in high school, and then staying in the city and being able to showcase my talent, at the next level. For all the people from around the city with all the high schools, and just letting everybody know that they're capable of doing that, no matter what happens to them or, with the recruiting process, that you can just stay home and, make something happen. I was fortunate, to have great people around me, just to keep me lifted, keep me going through the process. So, being here at UTSA is the spirit. One thing is, and my ultimate goal is to have UTSA like the talks like UCF of the world, or the Miami U, of the world. So one day, once I leave here, I want, UTSA to continue to be talked about around the country.
It's pretty amazing they've been able to do this, the success they've had on and off. But now what you guys have a nice run going, the win against Memphis. It's 15, the program's like 15 years old or so. And you've had some other coaches, as Coach Coker and among others. We were talking about this earlier. Sincere McCormick of UT San Antonio, the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner this week after his performance against Memphis, about a lot of what now student athletes have at their fingertips, not just scholarships or whatever else or cost of tuition, but now there's the name, image, likeness, and now there's even more that might open the door. How much of that have you been able to dive into? And also, is it's kind of a distraction anyway, and you kind of have to be careful with it?
It can be at times. It could be like you get caught up in all these deals that you make. I have like 11 or 12 deals that that I'm with. At times it can be a distraction, but you can't let that deteriorate from what you're doing on the field, because if that gets caught up in the field, then all you worry about is money. But it's a lot of things that come into place, especially with the NIL. People want to make money. But, there's things that I have to focus on, and that's just winning the ball game. All the other stuff is going to come into place. But I have a great mom, shout out to Precious Thompson if she's hearing this. But she molded me to become the man that handles my business, how not to get distracted with the money and the clothes and all that, and just stay on the task, that focus on the task at hand, and that's win the ball game for the team.
Sincere, the win against Memphis was huge. We know how important that was. You were down by 3 touchdowns, and I mentioned you guys just kept kind of chipping away, and you eventually got the win. How do you clear that? I know you have to, but it's kind of hard, isn't it, because it was such a critical win?
Yeah, it was a critical win. You know, when they went 21-0 in the first quarter against us, it's kind of like a sock in the mouth. You know, he was like, you know, this can't happen. You know, we can't let this ruin our day. But like you said before, we started this interview. You know, chop wood, carry water. You just got to continue to fight through the process, and that's what we did through the whole game. We was like, we're not going to be denied, and that's something that carried through the whole game. As you know, Brendan Brady in the second quarter, he started it off right. And, you know, I'm lucky to have a guy like him. I go to war with him any time of the day. And, you know, for him to carry that momentum to second, third, fourth quarter. And after a while, you know, Memphis defense got tired and we just kept pounding the rock.
All right, so my next question is this. You guys have now beaten Illinois. Obviously, you had wins against Lamar, Middle Tennessee State, and now Memphis. There's a lot of talk going on out there about where everybody ends up in the next year or 5. Is that even talk in the locker room about what you're trying to do to put UT San Antonio in front of people and say, hey, what about us? Or is that even a factor?
That is a big talk in the locker room because, you know, we feel like we don't get enough credit. I mean, us being a young program, we still want people to know that we're about business. We suit up just like the rest of any other university. We play football just like any other university, and we can hang with the best of them. And I believe in the strong foundation that Coach Traylor set for us can, you know, go forever. You know, even after I'm going, that's the thing that's a big emphasis of what we're trying to create here at UTSA.
You need to ask him about Coach Traylor about his all-white couch. Do you know about this?
Yeah, I know his all-white couch. He talks to us about it a lot.
Yeah.
He says his wife got him an all-white couch and he can't even sit on it.
Yeah, it's like it's still got like bubble wrap and plastic around it. He does not. That's not a decision that Coach Traylor gets to make, is he? That's hilarious.
Yeah, he told us about it. He don't get a chance to sit on the couch. He's like, I got this white couch, but I can't sit on it. Oh. And he just talk about it all the time, man.
Yeah, he's a good one, man. You guys are very fortunate that he's the one that got there, and I know that you guys were doing well. I'm glad he's doing well. We love him to death. Thanks for your time, Sincere. Hope to see you again, talk to you again. Congratulations on the week, and keep winning.
You will. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sincere McCormick, UT San Antonio. What a great personality, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good player, too. He's been, for the last couple years now, pretty much a staple in my weekly stats that I got to put together. Go through every single D1 game in the country and look for players from Texas that, for those that don't know the Earl Award, it's Earl Campbell backed and have a banquet every year, and it's for the top offensive player in the state, from the state of Texas or in the state of Texas and D1 college football. And McCormick, he checks both boxes because he plays at UTSA, but he's also from Converse Judson. Mm-hmm. But a guy like not Spencer Rattler, but Gary Bohannon's eligible. He's from Arkansas, but he plays at Baylor, so he plays at a Texas school.
Casey Thompson at Texas.
He's eligible because he plays at Texas, but otherwise you got to be from Texas. But yeah, Sincere, I've been following him now for a couple years, watching him do his thing, and he's a really good player, and a big part of what UTSA has been able to do over the last couple of seasons, and look forward to what he does the remainder of the year. I mean, they're sitting in a good spot, getting that Memphis win out of the way. That was huge. That was a big-time comeback, and it looked like they were going to get their first lump, but instead, you know, they keep it perfect. So big shout-out to UTSA, and it's interesting to hear him, you know, admit, like, yeah, we've talked about some of the expansion and things like that, and, you know, that's a school that right now doesn't appear to be in a really solid position to just go full bore into jumping into, you know, the Big 12 necessarily. But with the city of San Antonio behind them and, you know, the fact that it's a brand new program and they can keep building and they've got a good coach like Jeff Traylor for as long as they can hold on to him, you know, because that'll ultimately become the thing and is already starting to become the thing of, like, he's getting mentioned here and there for jobs because of their success. But if they keep building and keep it together, I mean, if there's another wave of realignment in the future and something happens, then UTSA might get a look because of the fact of where they're located. They're in Texas, on and on and on. And they got some money. Yeah, like there'd be reasons to check them out if you were, certain conferences potentially.
They beat Illinois in Champaign, and I know Illinois has kind of fallen, after their win against Nebraska, who everyone else has beaten. Lamar, but the win against Memphis was that's a big-time win. I sent a text to Jeff Traylor. I said, hey, that was nice, and he said that was big. He knows it. Everyone knows it. UNLV is next for them,
and that should
coming
be a
up
win.
this weekend.
That should be a win. So they should be 5-0, and then it'll get maybe a little bit tougher. And like Western Kentucky's got that quarterback Zap. I can't remember. Yeah, that is from Texas as well. He's a guy that's been on the list. There's a lot of Texas players in the conference, but going back to the name, image, likeness thing for 1 second. It's funny that we were talking about, or just the in general, NLRA and all of that. I saw this tweet last night because we had kind of talked about some of this yesterday, and this is like the angle that I hate the most out of all this, or the vultures that will take advantage of this, whole atmosphere, of which there will be many, and we've seen all the businesses that have sprouted up to deal solely with name, image, likeness. Hey, in one way, yet those are absolutely needed, so long as the people have the best interest at heart. And I do think there are probably a lot of former athletes who have started NIL businesses that are dealing with now current athletes and are doing a great job. But there's also like the advertising people and all these people that come flying in. And so I saw, somebody, I think it was Darren Ravel mentioned Mackenzie Milton, and he was like, going to have all these NIL deals and everything, and then, obviously did not perform well, and, the Jacksonville State loss and all of that. And so Ravel was just talking about how, some of these deals are going to blow up in people's faces, and other people pointed out, well, like, that's just business in general, and that's absolutely true. Like, there's a risk to giving money to anybody and them living up to it, but this guy who appears to be involved in like the behind-the-scenes INL stuff, he made this comment, and it just drove me absolutely insane, but it stuck with me because I think this is kind of the direction that we're going. He said, Ravel had his tweet about Milton. Somebody said, that's a great point. So much volatility with college athletes. Many are vastly unproven. And this guy who's getting into the NIL game or whatever says, that's why content creation is crucial for athletes. Don't let your on-field performance dictate your off-field earnings. And I just hate that. I just hate that idea, and that's where we're going. Like, the content creation, he's right. Like, a lot of these people, like Sincere, like, who would have guessed he has like 11 deals, he just said? Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But, you do the content creation on Instagram. Hey, make sure you post this. I'm wearing my Texas Ties t-shirt thanks to the good old 45, whatever. But don't let your on-field performance dictate your off-field earnings. Like, am I just reacting weird to that?
No, you're not. He could have worded that better.
Yeah.
He could have.
Because if that's the mindset, we are totally screwed.
No, because if we're now going to have college athletics, but it doesn't matter how you perform on the field or whether you start or not, then, everybody has a right to make money. That was always the argument. Everybody else in college, whatever student you might be, whatever your major is or classes you take or whatever classification, you can make money. That was always the argument. Now it seems like we've gotten much deeper than that. And Mac Rose will join us at 4:20. There's so many things we need to ask him, but we'll have to try to get to that point with him again.
There's a reason sneaker companies don't pick the kicker who missed the game-winning kick to endorse their product. Because if I'm a fan of...
But what if he does make a kick and then he endorses your product and misses 4 in a row?
But they're careful about it. I mean, then... there's some guys that get shoe deals and then we forget about it because they phase them out. I mean, I'm sure there's, Nike warehouse is probably littered with deals from guys that just didn't pan out. But
Corey Coleman.
Yeah. I mean, things like that.
And he signed Jordan Brand. But I mean, here's the thing is like, it shouldn't, I know that there's going to be deals that just are going to be made, and it's about that person's popular. Like, we've seen, like, all the gymnasts, there's a couple gymnasts that are getting paid more than anybody right out of the gates, and I don't know if they're any good or not, but I know they have 1 million followers on Instagram, and that's really...
Like Evan Stewart,
that's what matters.
TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. It's the followers, not the performance. So this guy is technically right, but I think if that's, like, sort of the mindset, it's, like, not really about how we perform, it's just getting these deals, like... then this is going to get really dumb because No, it is about the performance. That's why people are showing up to McLean Stadium and to Alabama Stadium and to Oklahoma to see the performance, not the guy who's got the Instagram sponsorship and who cares if he catches a ball or not. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Jordan Brand is Jordan Brand because he's the greatest ever.
Why are you here if it's not about that? How did you get the scholarship if it's not like that? Was all where it stems from. The competition and your performance and all of that. That's how you got your scholarship. So now you get to college and it doesn't matter because Burger King wants to pay you $100,000 a year. Like, am I just crazy over here?
No, you're not. I said you weren't. No, you're right.
But I mean, there's going to be athletes who it's not about the performance.
I'm sure there are some examples, like of somebody that's just got a niche.
Of course.
That's not a starter, might never play, like Jackson Moffitt, who's now going to go down and earn a medical degree. God bless him. But he was a major part of really a lot of what Baylor basketball was last year with his, the Mullet brothers and Matthew Meyer. Here's from Tony Altimore. He's a consultant. He does stats. He's not going to join us today. We were going to have him on today, but we're packed. Craig, it's only going to get worse. In New York theater and dance, castings are heavily influenced by social media followings. If people are close, talent is losing to marketing benefit already.
Yeah,
the difference is that ballerinas don't miss a field goal. Slightly less good football player, they can fall.
That's why we have TikTok stars fighting former MMA fighters, and we have people who don't act very well at all showing up in movies because they're super popular on TikTok, and I get that, and I get that that's like I am not against the student athlete making money, but I think if the mindset becomes it's not about your on-field performance or don't let your on-field performance dictate your off-field earnings. Like business-wise, that's good advice. But for the sole reason that you're there in the first place to have that platform, no, the performance should matter. And I'm just afraid that the athletes are going to become of the mindset of like, well, it doesn't really matter what I do ultimately because, hey, I'm still creating my brand, and I don't know.
We got a break. The chat room is loaded up with a lot of opinions on exactly what we've talked about, from the unionization up to anything else with college athletes. We will take a break here. 254-339-1122. We'll come back with more. Your chat text line's open. Calls available as well. Let's see here. We're pretty open until 4 o'clock, and I was able to be a part of a media session with Robert Griffin III today at 1 o'clock. I thought he was great, but I always have thought pretty much when he's on camera and what he says and what he was asked. And he's taken some shots from Oklahoma State fans. He's a Baylor alum. He's going through all that about doing a game. He will join us. We'll have that at 4, and then Mac Rhodes at 4:20.
And I tell you what, man, this Oklahoma State-Baylor game is going to be very interesting. Oklahoma State starting to get dialed back in at receiver, getting some bodies back. Obviously, Jalen Warren's very good. Spencer Sanders fresh off his best game. Their defense is nasty. It's going to be a tough test.
They're getting more and more people back. Robert Allen, who joined us 2 weeks ago before Boise, joins us tomorrow, I think it is, and he told me they had some players back for K-State and more this week. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Right now, Waco Custom Marketplace. Baylor's on the road in Stillwater, but maybe you're going somewhere else. Let's see. Who's playing at home? Well, a lot of teams are in the state of Texas. A&M's hosting Mississippi State, trying to bounce back from the loss they had to Arkansas. I know some of you that go down there. For my good buddy, Kyle Louie, is a tailgating, smokes beef and brisket and all that stuff, crazy. Sirloin steak, $6.99 a pound. Country-style ribs, $1.99 a pound. Pork spare ribs for $2.25 a pound. And even if there's an early kick and you need something for breakfast links in maple and also sage breakfast sausage for $2.50 a pound. Sage is $2.25 a pound. Chicken tenders, pork medallions, they're on sale. And then also their newest item for tailgating or at dinner at night, smoked pork tenderloin for $4.99 a pound. There's a picture of it on their website, on Instagram. It's delicious. It's your tailgate headquarters at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power's initial quality study. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is first among all midsize trucks. Quality and Ram Power Days, only at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340.
Come by, let's be friends.
It's football season. Sports bettors and BetUS.com has your NFL and college football live betting lines up for their 27th year. Why BetUS.com? Well, they're the 3-decade leader, and you can join now for a 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 with cash, or a 200% bonus on crypto with SICK'EM200. The 3-decade leader with action on every sport across the world. We can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game at BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with zero payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
So many of you are going at it when it comes to, and I mean not against each other. And one of the things I enjoy is because of the chat room, the text line, and callers, although sometimes we may not agree and we might just go at it, but I learned something from you. We learned something from you, and hopefully you learn a little bit at times from us. Broderick Jalloh, I think it is, Jalloh. I think the NCAA went off the rails when the team started paying coaches millions upon millions. It became a business.
Yeah, you can, I think, probably put a graph together and sort of line up the coaching salaries and, where we have now arrived. And there's probably some crossover, I would think. I mean, that's the big point everybody always brings up, for the side of give the athletes everything. And look, again, I'm all for name, image, likeness. I'm all for giving and giving and giving a lot. But I do think it's swaying way too much to one side all of a sudden. But, I could see that.
Yeah, that's one of the things that the NCAA I was always surprised did not see coming. And they at first they didn't understand it. They're like, well, what do you mean? Well, the minute that you started paying a coach $5, $6, $7 million a year, and then saying, well, we also don't have money, even though that might be true outside of the $7 million.
That's from a different pot, Paul.
That's different.
that's a different fund that we have over here for the coaching salary.
It's nothing you're ever going to be able to sell to anybody when you're saying, I don't have money. when you go ask your owner for a raise and he says, I don't have money, and then he shows you a picture of his new boat, you're like, I'm confused. Yeah. I'm confused. And that's how all of college athletics has been for a long time. And the NCAA could have made incremental steps to do it, and then maybe they can ward off
But because
the
they
water
delayed it
wall of,
upon delay after delay, and they stuck their head in the sand, now it's a tidal wave. From Lembino, only thing about unionizing is that universities will also have a right to not allow you to wear their jersey. College athletes would need to essentially start a semi-pro league with no resources.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right now with name, image, likeness, if they want to use any marks or a jersey or whatever, yeah, they have to clear that through the school. I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not sure. I've never had to deal with like unions and things and all that comes with that. So I don't know the ins and outs and the repercussions of what this would do behind the scenes. And so I'm trying not to pretend like I know exactly how this would work, and I don't want to fearmonger because we do that, and then it turns out like NIL.
It turned out to be okay.
NIL is just fine, right? Like, because it's not exactly what people thought it was going to be. Maybe this wouldn't be either, but no, this sounds like it would actually be a far more impactful.
It is, and I'll compare it to the way that things happen incrementally. Think about the minimum wage. The minimum wage in most states needs to raise, but it doesn't probably need to double right away because the businesses who pay that can't afford that because they've been operating.
Then guess who gets laid off?
Yeah, under a model, the people who need that minimum wage. Had you done it incrementally to grow with the cost of living, if you had done that, then maybe it's not a big deal when all of a sudden you turn around and it's $12, $14, $15 an hour. The NCAA is the same way. Had they done this incrementally, maybe they'd be like, okay, well, we're adjusting now, as opposed to like, now we have to change everything right now.
Okay, this is from Boondocks. I'm gonna read this, and Boondocks says, "White guy jealous that black men are gonna make money."
All right.
No, that's not at all.
Your chat is what you're trying to accuse us of.
Yeah,
no,
that's wild.
We just had Sincere McCormick on the show, black running back from San Antonio, UT San Antonio. He told us he had 11 or 12 deals. We're happy for him. I'm not jealous of him. What we're saying, it's not about jealousy of who gets paid. That's great. It's just the fact that it's going to ruin perhaps what we all love as sports. I don't care. Quinn Ewers is a white kid. I don't even think he needs the money. But he's going to get $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Look, maybe we're dealing with a troll. Maybe we're dealing with somebody who's being serious. Either way, it's an idiotic comment. And, that's...
I'll put it this way. I think my concern is that now it's not about ending college athletics as we know it just then, but it's also the NIL deals and all the stuff that you had could go away because you torpedoed the mechanism that you got them. So if you want all this stuff, you have to also work with a way to keep the industry going that created it for you. So you can't just take everything all at once. You have to make sure it's incremental. So if you're going to unionize, understand that there's going to be some athletes, if they unionize, are going to be all right. College football is going to be all right.
Yeah.
They're going to be all right. Men's college basketball is going to be all right. But there's going to be a lot of sports. Baseball, which has already been gutted to the bone, is probably in trouble. Softball in trouble. Things that they can easily repurpose your facility for, other things, in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, that's either a troll comment or just a lazy comment. I kind of lean towards lazy, but whatever. There's potentially huge ramifications. Why we're discussing it, why it's such a big story today, and that will be felt across all sports, across all different types of athletes. If you want to stick your head in the sand and focus on one aspect to make yourself feel better, then by all means. But pretty miserable place to come from when we're just sitting here talking about the ramifications potentially that would affect people of all skin colors from all backgrounds and all types of universities and all types of cities and all types of states across the country. But, keep doing you, though. Let that hate burn you up, buddy.
Yeah, not everything is black and white. Not everything is about skin color. We understand where things are. But if you've watched or listened to us,
you don't have to justify. You don't have to defend us. Yeah. That guy doesn't know anything. And like I said, it could just be a troll. So
here's
buzz off.
If anyone would have said that Baylor entering Week 5 would be ranked inside the top 25 and unbeaten, would we have probably? It would have been possible, not impossible. But it's not something we expected. No, because the Iowa State game, even though they've had some success against Iowa State. Break and then calls?
Yes.
Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, go ahead.
Was that a question? Or are we going into that question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think 4-0 is not entirely surprising. I think that there were some people out there I know that looked at this as that Iowa State as the flip game, and if they won that, then hey, you're springing yourself into a real run of potential. Now, this next game's the flip game, like the new flip game, and that's probably going to be the case every single week because they've already played Kansas, right? Now it's just all the rest of the juggernaut of the Big 12. So I'm not surprised that they're in this position because looking at that schedule, if you saw where could potential upsets come from? Iowa State with some question marks early in the season and in Waco. That looked like an ideal game that you could potentially flip. And so not entirely surprising that they did that, especially because they played Iowa State tough, even when they've had the program a little bit down. But, a good surprise for those who maybe expected that to just be a loss, but not a total shocker, no.
When we come back, Paul Catalina, we got a couple of lines lit up. Also, Robert Griffin III at 4 o'clock on many things, broadcast career, Baylor, Oklahoma State, and more. And then the transition and how he reinvented his career so quickly from football to broadcasting football. Mac Rhodes at 4:20, Sikkim, 365 Radio. The city of Woodway continues to have concerts, food and wine festivals. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information. It's changing all the time. They have events that's coming up. And it seems like every time there's an event, whether it's a food, wine, tasting event, or any kind of a concert, sold out just like that. So be ahead of the curve and watch their schedule at discoverwoodway.com. And also on top of that, they're about to add more events, more athletic or sporting events, or at least I guess you could say opportunities for the youth to have some fun, to do what they want to do. Right now there's flag football. There's also sand volleyball for a couple of different ages, but most of them all the way from elementary school up to junior high. And of course, 7 hotels. Baylor on the road this week, Stillwater, but there's still the Magnolia Silos. There's our place here on MLK across the Brazos. And on top of that, balconies and basketball starting to work out, the Farrell Center. So if you need to spend the night looking for a hotel, go to discoverwoodway.com. 7 hotels, just 7 to 10 or 12 minutes away. Well, unless I-35 is shut down, and it might be a little bit longer. And if there's the next game at home, which is against, of course, next week, West Virginia, you have that. 7 hotels, discoverwoodway.com.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. This 3 o'clock hour. Robert Griffin III from an earlier media session on Baylor, Oklahoma State, and his broadcast career at the top of the hour. Mac Roach 420. But a couple of calls to get to. 254-339-1122. 254-339-1122. We appreciate your patience. Paul?
All right, let's go to Chris in Missouri. You're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, guys, great to talk to you again. Hey, I want to thank you guys and John McClain for clearing up the whole thing with Deshaun Watson. I didn't realize that the media was putting forth things that weren't true, but thank you for that. Hey, the problem I have with the NIL is we're really getting into the point where these high school kids are becoming employees. I don't like the fact that lawyers are going to get involved, and if these people aren't happy, they're going to possibly have lawsuits against colleges. Are we going to provide health care for these guys when they get hurt? I just don't know where we're going with this NIL deal, but I hope the NCAA knows what it's doing, because it has trouble policing itself as it is. And with all the problems that are coming, I don't know where the answers are going to come from. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Let's go to Howard.
Well,
Go ahead.
Let's respond to him.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think a weird thing from this is the fact that a term that you hear all the time, student athlete, is going to be completely wiped out. Like, that's a boogeyman term, like, in a way. Like, it's a bad term to use, apparently, according to the what is the NLRA?
National Labor Relations Act. Board. It's the board.
Okay,
Yeah.
So I mean, they're looking to phase out the term student athlete because that obscures the actual relationship. And like, we hear Mac Rhodes say that term all the time, but like that's a term that's being attacked now, is the term student athlete, which is interesting. And yeah, I don't know which way this goes. You know, I've said it a couple times now. I'm not going to pretend to be smart enough to know all the ins and outs of labor laws and, you know, what potential impact this would have. I do know on the surface, while all these opportunities are great for student athletes, it's just, like I said, the pendulum's swinging another way. And at some point, there's going to be so much give and so little take that, and look, the NCAA took for a long time, so I'm not like supporting them in any way. And this is all on their hands. But, you know, that pendulum can swing to a dangerous level to where you do worry about the financial impact. Not so much the schools can't make money, but they're not going to be making the type of money that allows them to have a women's volleyball team, to have a men's soccer team, to have equestrian, to have water polo. I mean, like, all this stuff. And so, like, yeah, we can look up in 10 years and maybe everything's still the same for all I know, but we could look up and all that's gone, and then we're just like, well, hey, at least that NIL thing, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we're really looking far enough ahead to know what ramifications are, or really even worrying about ramifications. It's like, let's just change and then worry about the rest and let it sort itself out. And I think that's kind of dangerous.
That's what's happening. It's not that it's happening in like Mach 5.
Yeah.
And instead of the slowly but surely. But this is the NCAA fault because they stuck their damn head in the sand for many years.
You can argue that it did take a long time because they did slow play it so far, but now that it's flipped in a major way.
Paul?
All right, Howard, you got about 60 seconds. Go.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, don't let anybody disparage your show. You guys got a great show.
Yeah, we're
It's
good.
terrific.
Yeah, we're
I
good.
like it.
We're good. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah, it's the truth. I speak the truth. Hey, I want to think about two things. What worries me more than this unionization and all this stuff is how about these schools paying these good old boy networks of coaches that either they don't like their record, their fan base doesn't like their record, or they're not producing, and they walk away with millions of dollars. I'm thinking like Sumlin at A&M and Arizona. I'm thinking of, David, your school, Nebraska. How many millions have they paid like coach after coach after coach? And then that's one thing, and I want to talk about, this is kind of out of your conference thing, about the Mississippi State A&M game. You know, Jimmy Lake, when he was defensive coordinator at Washington in the Apple Cup, he said, I'd play Mike Leach any day of the week. He used to put a 3-man line up there, and then he used to zone 8 people back there, and the Huskies used to just beat them every year. But the first part is what bothers me, is some of these coaches that are they're walking away with millions of dollars just getting fired.
Yep.
You know?
No, Howard, we got to run because we have a head at the top of the hour.
Sounds good.
Thank you for the call. No, there's an amount. It's enormous. It's like in NFL cap money, you call dead money when players are gone, no matter what they get, signing bonuses and guaranteed contracts, whatever, and they're not even playing for you anymore. That's happening. And is happening and has been happening in college athletics with coaches for a long, long time.
Yeah, and if it hasn't been clear enough already, while I've definitely said that it's swinging one way or the other, we'll all say to a man, like, this is all the NCAA's fault, and them sitting on their hands and them taking, and now they had to give a little bit, and they didn't even know how to give. And then, they were so unprepared that they've been given more and more and more, and I don't know when that runs out. I don't feel sorry for them in any way. I'm more worried about just, college athletics as a whole. But, no, the NCAA and these coaching salaries, I mean, that's the kerosene, and you just needed a match. But that was the kerosene. I mean, when NIL wasn't able to be a thing and when these players weren't getting extra benefits before stipends were even into play a few years ago, like, they've slowly but surely added things that needed to be added. But yeah, the coaching salaries, I think, are at the top of the list as far as areas you can point to can I say student athlete? As a athlete, and say, okay, this pendulum's a little too far this way as well. And so, again, it's one way or it's the other, but it's never in the middle.
It's a roller coaster, and it seems like it's usually been kind of this uphill, takes forever. Now it's whoosh. When we come back, Robert Griffin III will be a part of that Oklahoma State-Baylor game on Saturday night. He will do the broadcast with Mark Jones and others. He met with a small contingent of media earlier today, and that is next on Sikkim 365 Radio. IdealMRI.com, where they can find out what hurts so much that you can't sleep, you can't function, you can't work, you can't do much of anything, and then you start to wonder. Advil, Aleve, whatever, Tylenol, and maybe something even more than that. Well, if there's something torn or ripped or shredded, they're going to find it, because Ideal MRI is going to find out what you need to know about your shoulder, your knee, whatever muscle or ligament is gone and needs to be repaired. And then maybe it's something else. And also, like I told you, they could also do MRIs on your abdomen in case there's any concerns about prostate cancer that you've dealt with in the family or you yourself, you're not so sure. Ideal MRI, $497 or less every single time. And they will help with the insurance as well to make sure you lower it even more. It's $497 or less every single time, and the average MRI is $1,100 at idealmri.com.
The thing about having a naked truck is that you get exposed for the equipment you don't have. Take, for example, your rear end. If you don't have anything back there, you're exposed about what you don't have, and that's a life. However, if you cover that rear end with a hitch, you're telling the world, hey, I got a little junk in my bed, and I'm ready to pull something. A camper, RV, boat, trailer, jet skis, heck, even a bike rack. A hitch says, I have a life beyond driving my truck to and from work, and Pickup Outfitters is the place to get a hitch for your truck, SUV, van, even some cars. We sell and install just about any kind of hitch you need. Receiver hitches from light to heavyweight to pull just about anything. And gooseneck hitches and fifth wheels when you're ready to pull the heavy stuff. And don't forget trailer and brake controller wiring. It's so important to have wiring professionally and correctly installed by the pros at Pickup Outfitters. So it's time to cover that gaping hole in the rear end of your truck with a hitch installed by Pickup Outfitters. Check us out online at createacommotion.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Colby. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Ebner handling that puts upfield. Ebner is on his feet. Ebner is to the sideline. He is tipped toward the sideline, and he is in to the house.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, earlier today, Robert Griffin III, who will be a part of that Baylor-Oklahoma State broadcast in Stillwater on Saturday, a place where he struggled, as did Baylor for many, many years, had a media session. And here's that media session on many things, Baylor, Oklahoma State, and his broadcast career.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a pretty exciting time for me. This whole experience at ESPN has been phenomenal. You know, my play-by-play guy, Mark Jones, our sideline reporter, Quint Kesenick, and our producer, Kim Belden, have been amazing, making my transition from the field into the broadcast booth, an easy one, to be honest with you. They've been phenomenal. So to have the game we had last week with Clemson and NC State, and then ESPN decides to give us this game, with Baylor being ranked and Oklahoma State being ranked, it's something that I don't take lightly, and I'm real appreciative and honored to be able to call my first game from my alma mater.
Awesome. We'll open it up for questions. Does anyone have one right out of the gate? Otherwise, you can raise your hand. We've got Jerry Hill from Baylor Athletics.
Robert, how comfortable were you, or, is that something that will come, because I didn't get a chance to see that broadcast, but how comfortable were you in that role?
I don't know. I think you'd have to look at the reviews, I guess. It's always hard to give an assessment of your own performance. And what I've become to know just from a guy like Mark Jones, who's had 31 years in the industry. I've had many talks with him before games, after the games. And he says, there's really no baseline for, hey, you did a great job or you didn't do a great job. It's more so, did you mess it up? So for that Clemson NC State game, the way that it went down, we were just trying to get out of the way. The game was so good, overtime game, an upset of a top 10 team. In those situations, you don't want people to come out of it and not have their focus on the football game. And I thought we did that collectively, not just myself and Mark, and Quint, but everybody, the production team and the people in the truck. So I've learned that these games and the way that they go, there's more people than you actually can imagine that are working on the production of the game and the broadcast. And I've grown to appreciate those people over the past 5 weeks.
Thanks, Robert.
Next up is David Smoak from Sikkim 365 Radio. David, you can unmute.
Thank you very much. Robert, what does it say about you that you've almost reinvented your career from what you did as a football player and that this has taken off so fast?
Wow. I'm just extremely blessed. I'm 31. I think it's no secret. Everybody knows I want to continue to play. But to have an opportunity like this one and be put in a position at ESPN with the crew that I have, to do this and continue to contribute to the game is not something that I take lightly. So I said it, I think a couple of days ago on Adam Schefter's podcast that I'm focused on being the best I can possibly be at what I'm doing right now. Does that mean I'm not training? Yes, I train every day. Am I throwing? Yes, I throw every day. But my day job right now is to try to bring the game to fans in a way that either they have seen or haven't seen in a long time, and bring it with enthusiasm. So it's been a lot of fun. And the game of football is something that I never thought would bless my life this much. When I was coming out of high school, I wasn't a football guy, right? I ran track, played basketball, but I fell in love with football at Baylor after my injury in 2009. And to see where I am now in 2021 is truly a blessing. Thankful to God and really just thankful to football that it's continuing to bless me and my family.
Thanks, Robert. Next, we'll go to Bruce Feldman from The Athletic. Bruce, you can unmute.
Thanks. Hey, Robert, on the broadcast, I know you described the Clemson offense as archaic. I was curious, what specifically did you see from their play calling and their system that made you feel that way? Especially, you've played in a bunch of prolific offenses yourself and obviously been in the NFL. What really caught your eye like that?
Yeah, so with Clemson, we talked about it going into the game. Everybody had been talking about how they've been struggling on offense. And what I saw, firsthand was a lot of talent. I walked on the field before the game. I saw their receiving core, the size, the length, the speed that they have at wide receiver. During the game, I got to see, DJ Uiagalelei go out there and just make some plays that not everybody can make those throws, booting out to the right and throwing the ball back across your body 40 yards in the back of the end zone. That's a tough throw. So I think they have the talent. I just think that the days of lining up and just steamrolling people because you have better players is over. in college football. Schemes have gotten so good offensively and defensively that they bridge that gap between the good players and the great players. So Clemson has great players. They just need their scheme to be more flexible. And right now, they're hurting at the running back position. Defensively, they had a bunch of injuries in that game. So I think for Clemson, they just have to make a decision on what they want to do. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them just open it up and let DJ throw the ball first, second, and third down of every single game and just let them develop. You're 2-2 at this point. What else do you have to lose? And DJ's a great player, and you got great players around him, so let him open it up and do it. But offensively, when you talk about it specifically to answer your question, since I haven't answered it yet, it's mostly formations, right? Their formation variability. I saw too many times that they just went out there and had 2x2, and they ran straight stem routes on third down, and guys are covered or have guys around them. DJ's got a strong arm, but at the same time, you got to help those wide receivers get open, right? Put them in bunches, put them in stacks, have some eye candy going with some motions across the formation, give them some man zone tails with the running back, motion them out into the slot to the short side of the field, bring them back, let them know if it's man or zone coverage. I think those are things that they can use to help, but I don't think that's anything that Tony Elliott or Dabo is oblivious to. I think they understand that. I think being a player, I understand how coaches have difficulty doing certain things because they can only do as much as their players can handle. So it could be just a reluctancy to be creative. It could be that they can't be creative right now because they're still trying to work through who they have personnel-wise. They lost Trevor Lawrence, they lost Travis Etienne, they lost Amari Rodgers and Cornell Powell. That's a lot of production on offense. So, I don't think that Clemson's done as a power. I don't think that the sky is falling on them. I just think right now they're 2-2 and lost 2 games in September, and everybody's wondering why. So offensively, I just think they need to get a little more creative.
Amanda, can I just ask one quick follow-up to Robert? Not really Clemson specific, but and thank you for that. But how challenging is it to go from the role of being a quarterback where all eyes are on you to all of a sudden now you're going to say some stuff that maybe the coaches, maybe the fans, maybe some of the people take issue with, and it's less than a month in and you've already kind of jumped into the spotlight on that front?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think anybody on this call that followed my career at Baylor and the NFL knows that usually something that I say just takes off. So it's not something that I was. When Dabo got asked the question after the game, I did see that, and I actually think Dabo's a great coach. And I think Tony Elliott has a great future. But I think for both of them, figuring out the issues on offense is really gonna test their fortitude and test their ability to respond to adversity. And I think Dabo understood it. When he got asked the question, he didn't get defensive. He didn't say, it wasn't an attack. He just said, look, man, we're not playing very well, and there's going to be criticism when you're not playing very well. And I thought that was very, I didn't say mature, but, Dabo's been doing this for a really long time. And I think he understood the gravity of it. When I made those comments during the game, it wasn't an attack on Clemson. It was just speaking to what I was seeing out there on the field. And I think he realized that.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got John Morris from Baylor Radio. John, go ahead.
Hey, Rob, good to see you.
Oh, J-Mo.
I'm doing good, thank you. Hey, being paired with Mark Jones, what a great move that is. He's a real pro. What has he told you, or what have other people told you about doing a game for your alma mater? That's kind of a different animal than doing, Clemson, North Carolina State.
Yeah, I would say it's a different animal. I think, we've had just a really good arc for where we started early in the year. We got the week 0 game. I started off in a 3-man booth to try to introduce, just the way it goes on TV with Mark. But Mark's been phenomenal. He's used all of his years of experience to kind of give me pointers, and then also not to mess me up. I think part of this gig that I've realized is who you naturally are is naturally going to come out on air. So if you're a normally reserved guy, you're going to be reserved. If you're a normal calm guy, you're going to be calm. I seem to be a super excited guy, right? Because I love football, and they've helped me refine that in just 5 games to not mess me up, but also give me pointers on how to do certain things better. So I think the pairing has been phenomenal. He's 59, but you wouldn't think he's 59 by listening to him talk or the energy that he brings. And I think the biggest compliment he gave me was that he's having fun again, and I think that's a testament to his love for football, and then just our crew and how well our crew is working together right now, that it's making it fun for everybody, to where we don't dread being around each other. We don't dread having the meetings. But for me, I don't know if I could have been partnered with a better guy to start this whole thing off than Mark Jones.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Next, we'll have John Warner from the Waco Tribune-Herald. John, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Robert. How you doing?
What's up, John? How you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for coming on. What do you think of the job Coach Aranda's done with this team to get it into the top 25? And how tough is it to come into Boone Pickens as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with Boone Pickens. I mean, I'm 0-3. I'm playing against Oklahoma State. If I didn't know that, every Oklahoma State fan on Twitter let me know. Okay. First of all, I want to say, look, guys, I know I'm calling the game for my alma mater, but at least give yourself a chance. Like, I'm going to be in the booth. I'm going to be bipartisan. I'm going to talk about how great players you got. Tay Martin, the receiver, number 1, all these guys, Warren at running back. So Boone Pickens is a tough environment. We always talked about how the food was going to taste bad when you went to Stillwater. The hotel bed was going to be a little creaky and it wasn't going to feel that great. And then they're going to walk you out there and you're going to walk up and down the dang thing to get down to the field in that little corner. I don't know if they still have that, but it's like a snake getting down to the field. And then when you get to the field, the stands are like, they're breathing on your neck, and they're drinking alcohol, all types of different stuff. So you don't know what they're actually thinking in those moments. But Boone Pickens is definitely a place that makes you feel like you're surrounded, right, as an opposing team. And we haven't had great experiences there. But this Baylor team is a different team, and they don't have to carry that baggage of myself or any other team before them. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust to that environment. I think last week for Baylor was great. They came out firing on all cylinders against Iowa State and then had a rough second half, but they still won the game. And I think that will give them opportunity to show growth. But this team is light years ahead of the team last year. And you can't speak enough about how Coach Aranda has made that transition from the difficulties of last year with COVID and Zoom meetings and really not getting to see his guys or really get to install what he likes to do. He's a different guy, right? He's a whisperer type of coach. He's like a Jedi. You know what I mean? Let me save my good stuff for TV. But he's a guy that needs to be hands-on, and he's a relationship guy. So this past year, he's able to establish those relationships and really put his program in, and you're seeing the benefits of it now with Baylor being 4-0. And I know Baylor Nation couldn't be any happier with the way that the team is playing right now.
Thanks, Robert.
No problem.
Next up, we'll have Scott Wright from the Oklahomans. Scott, you can unmute.
Robert, you brought up your unfortunate moments with Oklahoma State. I was wondering if you could talk about the 2011 game. They're honoring that team this weekend, so kind of timely that you're in town for that one. But what do you remember about that game in particular?
Oh, yeah, Scott, thank you. We got our butts kicked. We really did. I remember, I think it was the first drive of that game. We went on a 16-play drive. To start the game off, we converted a 4th down early in the drive and then got stopped. I think either on the goal line or in the red zone on that 16-play drive. And then the next time we had another long drive and got stopped on 4th down when it was 21-0. And then I think the score was 42-21, if I'm remembering correctly. But we definitely got our butts handed to us. That team was a great team. Obviously, that's the year that Baylor won the Heisman. And Oklahoma State tried to derail that, but they couldn't. It's just Oklahoma State has always had good teams. They always play extremely tough at Boone Pickens. And I've got a lot of respect for them and, Coach Gundy. So for me, like I said, I'm going to be bipartisan. I'm going to call the game the way it's being played, and look forward to a big time Big 12 matchup, because whichever one of these teams wins is going to have to carry the torch if anything happens to Oklahoma down the stretch for the college football playoff. So it's a big weekend.
Thanks, Robert.
No problem, brother.
All right. Next up, we will circle back to David Smoak with Sikkim 365 Radio.
Thank you. Robert, what's the difference playing the game, the speed of the game, and then broadcasting the game?
Yeah, I think I had to learn, real quickly about the telestrator. It's this thing where you can circle stuff on the screen and you can draw these cute little lines and whatnot. And I had to learn about that on the job 10 minutes before the first game that we called between Alcorn State and North Carolina Central. So they bring me in, they say, hey, this is telestrator, boom. You're not going to really be using it today, but this is what it is. And then we went about it. And then in the second game we had Houston and Texas Tech, and I got to use telestrator a lot more. So using the telestrator, calling the game, looking at replays, watching the game, it's been a transition for me, because when you're a fan, you just watch the game, right? And you say, oh, they should have done this. Right? Well, in TV, you have to watch the game, commentate the game, give your analysis on the game, give the fans what they should be expecting next, watch the replays, circle stuff on the telestrator to show people where they should be looking and what's going on during the game. So the speed of all of that has really been a transition, because watching the game is completely different than playing the game, especially at the college level. Having come from being in the NFL for the past 8 years. So I think for me, it's been a smooth transition. Having the ability and the producers to give me the things that I need to pay attention to has really been the focus, because as a fan, you can watch everything. As a broadcaster, you kind of have to zero in on the minute details so that you can describe those things to the audience.
It's a lot harder than people think, that's for sure. Next up,
it's not just watching the game. Trust me. I had to learn that, and I learned it quickly, because if I didn't, then we would have a bad broadcast and everyone would hate me. So,
we have time for a couple more questions. We'll circle back to Jerry Hill.
Robert, I was wondering if you've watched some film or watched Baylor play to this point. What's your assessment of Gary Bohannon?
Yeah, Gary's night and day difference, night and day difference from really what anybody's seen from him at any point from him playing at Baylor. I think it's a testament to his hard work. I can't even say waiting his turn, because he's worked all the way through. But even from last year, to see the way he played and how he processed and how he threw the ball, right? His accuracy when throwing the ball, his consistency when throwing the ball, to this year, I mean, it's remarkable what he's been able to do. He's been more efficient. He's protecting the football. He's given his guys chances down the field. So I've been extremely impressed with what Gary's done. But at the same time, the offensive line is playing better, right? The running game is multifaceted. And I feel like they have figured out what their identity is. And I think that's big for a quarterback. When you know what your offense's identity is, you can play into that. And I think that's what Gary's doing.
That's Robert Griffin III. He will be broadcasting the game in Oklahoma at Stillwater, Oklahoma State, Baylor, coming up on Saturday. Nice to see him again, hear from him again on many things. Baylor. Mack Rhodes, Baylor Director of Athletics, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Robert Griffin said, Dave Aranda's a little different. He is a whisperer, and then he said maybe even a Jedi.
I like the I like the Jedi description. So I think that suits him well.
You win a game against Iowa State. It's a great win for Coach Aranda, the program, the university, and everything else athletics. And all I have seen, it seems like to me, are people upset with everything game day atmosphere. Are you getting that same vibe and feedback?
I have not, I've not seen that, Smoak. So I would love for you to maybe share that with me, but no, I have not seen that. Now, I've gotten a couple comments, emails, people disappointed with student attendance, but that's been the essence of what I've heard.
Okay, did you guys cut back the Baylor line for any particular reason? Is it are less freshmen allowed to be in a certain place, and is the berm only, or has it only been reserved for students, freshman students or students this year?
Yeah, so great questions. We had just over 9,400 students for the Texas Southern, and then about 8,600 again tickets claimed for the Iowa State game because of the large freshman class, and I think everybody's aware of the large freshman class. 4,100, largest history of Baylor. We worked with Student Life and to allocate the berm for students, and again, I thought the Texas Southern game, the student seats were filled, the berm was full. I don't remember exactly how full it looked, but then against Iowa State, not very many, and so. We're going to continue to work with Student Life. I think for what we would call premium games, we'll keep the ability to reserve that for the students. But then some of the other games, we've worked with Student Life to release that back, and we'll be able to sell into that for general public. 2019, and this gives you some context, right? 2019, we had an average of almost 8,800 students per game. So I think some of the time of the game, the time of year, the heat, I was told that, the concourse was pretty full on that east side. People trying to just stay out of the sun. So, and again, I wasn't there to walk through the concourse, but understood that, there were certainly some students amongst, those that were in the concourse and not out in the sun, but it's a work in progress. It's something that, we're going to continue to work at. As you know, I believe students make such a huge difference in terms of energy within a venue, and we're going to continue to work at it and try to do the best we can where every student seat is filled.
You want me to read one of these emails? It's not offensive or anything. You want me to just read it to you?
Sure.
Smokey, do you think there's a politically safe way for you to ask or suggest to MAC that you've heard from many season ticket holders that they would like to see the game day experience enhanced significantly, and if he seems open to it, that we would be happy to make a categorized list of suggestions and ideas for them to consider? It seems to be, he said it's not a very good experience considering how high level we want our brand to be.
Yeah, and again, I'm certainly I don't think you grow and get better unless you're willing to listen. I have no idea what that means. It's pretty general. Are there specific things? Willing to, me and my team are willing to hear and listen if there are specific items, areas that are missing and or could be improved.
And again, I'm in the press box, so I don't notice this, but this is some feedback. Our game day operations this year have been absolutely terrible. Video production, music has already been talked about at length. Music volume makes it seem like they don't want to wake up the babies. Mac talks about wanting big-time environment, but literally it seems like we're discouraging students from going to the game. And you discussed that part as well. You're not trying to do that. That's just somebody's opinion. Here I'll give you my point. I'm not a fan. I don't go to the games as a fan. But it seems like there's always something, and I know that you've been frustrated with that as well, that sometimes no matter what, there's always a complaint. The games are too early. You have no idea. You don't set that. You're in the sun, whatever. You don't set that. You have to walk an extra 100 yards. Some of those things to me are petty, but it just seemed like today, for some reason, or this weekend, I got more of this about the music and the line and the berm and the students and all that, and I just wanted to make sure I directed it your way.
Well, I'm grateful that you, and I mean that sincerely. I'm grateful that you did, and you know, it's a conversation we'll continue to have, and you know, where I'm trying to, you know, just balance. I don't know that we made any changes from, you know, 2019 when you think about decreasing volume or the music or the video, but you know, again, we always want to get better, and certainly open to suggestions. I worked with a men's basketball coach years ago and said, you know, to the media in a post-game press conference, I love suggestions, but they do me no good after the game. So
I get that. Yeah.
So absolutely willing to, and I appreciate you sharing that with me.
Well, I felt like I can, because we can kind of be someone that's like their, you know, information to you.
And to your point, like, I mean, where we were was fine. We were in the press box, we were good, but like you couldn't help but look over at the visitor side and see how empty it was. But like you said, there was people apparently in the concourse because it was hot or whatever like that. But it did seem like there was just an awful lot of complaints this week, and I don't know what that boils down to. It's just kind of crazy.
Mac, how do you feel that the transition in the tailgate area has been? I know that it's a little bit less people this year with the tailgate guys and all that, and how do you seek to maybe grow that area back to where it was a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I mean, again, you're trying to measure, you know, 25% capacity last year and no tailgating. You know, how would this year be different if you had full tailgating last year? So there was this continuation of experience, and you know, 6 home games last year, and well, we didn't play 6 last year, but the home game schedule, and then you know how that builds into this year. And so I think, you know, trying to measure that, you know, I think, you know, there's probably some mixed opinion. Most of what I've heard has been extremely positive, in terms of how clean it looks, the service provided. You know, people seem to be enjoying it. Obviously, you know, we want to continue to grow it. I'm not saying there hasn't been any complaints. I think there's been, at least that I'm aware of, a handful, you know, maybe quality of tents. And it feels like, or from what I know and understand, you know, all of those have been addressed immediately. So again, it's a process of continuing to get better and to grow that area.
Baylor Director of Athletics Mac Rhodes with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Here's a positive. Whoever was guarding the berm the guy tried to bribe her $100 to let 2 kids and his wife get in the berm, and she said no. So you have integrity with whoever's guarding the berm. Oh my God!
Just glad you're getting these emails and I'm not.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Well, I mean, again, so people know how to get a hold of you. If they do, I'll give them your email address at any moment here. No, I'm kidding about that. I just think it's good that we can pass it along. Now, when you have
got a staff that helps me with email, and it's still impossible to keep up with everything. So
I imagine.
Go ahead,
Mac. For people out there who are listening, and clearly there were a lot of people that emailed Smokey, and I saw comments, on Sikkim 365 or on social media or whatever. What you just said, like you're willing to listen. So what would you suggest for those people who want to, go out publicly and complain about something? What is the best course of action for them to take to see that perhaps changes are at least considered or introduced?
Yeah, Craig, that's a great question, and I don't know that I have a wonderful answer for you today, but let me have some conversation with staff, and we'll figure out maybe the best way to collect, whether it's complaints, suggestions, maybe there's a better way of doing that than our fans, just randomly emailing you all. So let me have that conversation.
Yeah, it's not urgent it is because fan base matter. A lot of these are season ticket holders and donors and all that as well. Was the replay system not working at times on Saturday?
I would tell you this: if it wasn't, that's news to me. I was not made aware of that the replay system was not working.
Okay, I just was asking about the 2-point conversion when Iowa State. You intercepted the pass anyway, but it just seemed to me that Purdy's, and this is not an anti-Iowa State thing. It could have been Gary Bohannon's fumble. It could have been a lot of things, but it just seemed like that the Big 12 is known for reviewing a 3rd and 4. And a guy picks up 6.
5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and it takes, and that's true. And so I was really almost like, wow, they're not going to stop the game for this. When, of course, that was at the end of the game when the game was on the line. I was just curious about that. But you might have had, at that point, you might have been like underneath the tarp or something like that at that point of the game.
Oh, I was very much aware of the knee possibly hitting the turf, and I probably let a few people around me know that I was very much and we'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And I have no further comments on officiating.
Mac, a non-officiating scheduling question for you. I saw Texas Tech and Arkansas announced a partnership for 2030 and 2031, and I get that you have to schedule well in advance, but with the conference expanding and things being in flux, is it reasonable to, I know you're going to keep the SEC opponent on your schedule of your Texas Tech, but having all the things that are going to change in the schedule that you guys haven't even completely worked out yet, I'm sure, is it feasible to do that right now for schools to schedule stuff 10 years down the line?
Yeah, and I'm not saying anything in terms of Texas Tech and Arkansas and the decision to do that. It's, that's a conversation and probably a game they've been working on, for months, and who knows, they may, last minute have added some contractual language saying dependent upon, future conference schedule. But, right now it's anybody's guess, with the 10 teams, we play everyone. So it's 9 conference games. When we get to a place, where we've got 14, what does that look like in terms of how many conference games we play? And then, when we get to a place where it's 12, so I think it's really, really hard to predict. And, here's what I do know, or I certainly, if I was having to project, future TV, TV partners are looking for compelling matchups. And so, probably the more conference games, assuming you've got a healthy conference and you've got some really good teams within your conference, the more conference games that you can play in the future are probably going to be better for you. So, long answer, but it's going to be interesting to see where we land and the conversations we have about the number of conference games here in the future.
Mac, your head football coach is celebrating a birthday today. I believe Dave Aranda turning 45 today, but celebrated a big win on Saturday. I mean, for all the ugliness of that game at times and just the momentum switches and everything like that, what a big win for your football program. How did that feel on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, candidly, it obviously felt great. That's a really good football team. Iowa State, really well coached, physical. They're going to play hard every play, and to be able to kind of withstand and I don't know that we, I don't think it's breaking news when I say that I'm not sure we played a very clean game. To be able to still win, despite some of our, some of the challenges that we created for ourselves. By the way, I was about ready to, well, I won't say, but when we had to do an onside kick twice, was not fired up about that. But it was a big win. It was a big win, and there's still so much opportunity for us to get better, and that's what I appreciate, about Coach Aranda. He knows that, and I'm telling you, he woke up Sunday morning and it was all about how do we get better. So I was fired up for him and for our kids.
Let me ask you a question. What is more of a heartburn? Worrying about how the Big 12 is going to survive, or the onside kick that Treston Ebner recovered?
Tie goes to the runner.
Right.
Well, Ebner was the runner, so he's safe because that's the way the rules go. Yeah, that was interesting. Mac, there was a story today. Dan Lust is a sports attorney, and Darren Heichner is a sports attorney. We covered a lot of what they do. They're good at what they're doing. But there was a story about the National Labor Relations Board issued a memo that's trying to move student athletes closer to becoming employees, which could bring up unionization.
Eliminate the term student athlete.
Student athletes, which you use a lot, and I have always used because that's what it was at one point, still should be. But it seems like this thing's going down the track with yet another thing that's going in the direction of student athletes. That's fine, but any concerns about what this does to college athletics if this happens?
Yeah, I think because it just happened today, still haven't had an opportunity to wrap my arms around it completely. But certainly, a couple things to keep in mind, that this was an opinion of the NLRB's general counsel. So just an opinion. It takes a decision, from the NLRB to actually put this in place. Now, this may be a precursor for that to happen, and it feels like this idea of student athletes or athletes at an academic institution, students who are athletes at an academic institution, since they don't like the terminology student athlete. It almost feels like they're trying to find a separate labor class for our student athletes, that this idea of being employees is to provide them some rights, whether it's collective bargaining. You mentioned some, right? But I just don't know. I worry about the unintended consequences of all of this. And again, I'm not an attorney, and I've had 5 minutes to really think about it today, but if they truly become employees, are they, now every benefit that we provide a student athlete, are they going to be taxed on it? Are they going to be taxed on the value of their scholarship? And so I just think we got to be really careful as we walk down this path. And you mentioned it there on the end. These last, let's call it 18 months, 2 years. It just feels like, and it feels like it because it is. There's more change in college athletics than there's been in like the last 15 years, and this may be another one that we're going to have to deal with as an industry.
I know Dr. Livingstone's going to be in Congress tomorrow in Washington, D.C., a part of the NIL. She's also a part of that board of governors. She's a part of a lot of things right now. How much to have Baylor at that table? What does that mean?
Yeah, I think it certainly speaks to the respect for Baylor. And, again, we talked about this, several shows ago, but, I think you were asking about, the Big 12 and their perspective on Baylor. Well, I think you can answer that by saying, she was the Big 12's, selection, the presidential selection to be on the board of governors or to represent the Big 12 for the NCAA board of governors. I think that's huge. The committees she's been able to serve on, I've been able to serve on, and so I do. I think that speaks well for Baylor.
Mac, I asked you about Nikki Collins' Texas tour that she was going to be embarking on. I know that for the women's team, practices started today, first day of practice. What have you kind of been able to glean, if anything, or how have you kind of viewed the ability for her to go around? I know you're excited about that opportunity, but seeing her actually be able to go out and do it, what have been your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the response has been overwhelmingly positive, which has been really, really cool to see. I was in Dallas yesterday for the luncheon that where both Nikki and Scott were there together. It was great to see them both, for them to be together again. Just received overwhelming positive comments about Nikki individually, obviously Scott individually, and then both being there together. So, she's obviously hit the ground running, and I know that she's excited for official first practice today, and I look forward to seeing her continue to put her stamp on the program, and so far I think she's done a truly an amazing job.
Tongue in cheek, when I ask you this, I know you got to go. We appreciate it. Boise State, according to reports, has turned down an offer from the AAC. Did Jeremiah text you before they said no?
No comment.
Hey, I'm gonna tell everyone if they want to send some things to me, I can pass them on to you. I appreciate it, Mac. I know that some of that is you didn't. I know that I do know that the tailgating thing seems to be a concern as much as maybe anything else. But we'll try to get stuff to you, and I know you guys can do whatever you can do.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be good listeners, and not saying that we can, everybody's suggestion that we can incorporate, that we can change everything. There's obviously a lot of moving pieces to all of this, but we certainly want to be attentive and good listeners.
Thank you, Mac. Appreciate your time. Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics, Baylor, coming off the huge win against Iowa State. Stillwater Saturday, 6 o'clock kick against Oklahoma State on again this weekend.
Yeah, I had to bring up Nikki Collins because seeing that Texas tour going on.
Yep.
And obviously today, first day of practices, and so be interesting to see. I mean, that's a big change right there.
Media session going on right now. Is that right, with Nikki? Yeah,
that's a big change to be changing coaches after all that time with Mulkey. So we'll see how it goes. But there was a lot of complaints on Saturday, and I'm glad that the administration is open minded to it all. I think people also need to understand that thousands and thousands of word vomit and, just complaining about every little thing. Like, that's not going to change overnight. So, be patient, but know that they're at least listening.
When we come back, Fresno State's had a pretty good start to their season. Robert Kawada of the Fresno Bee will join us here momentarily. We're going to take it to the top of the 5 o'clock hour,
Yeah,
Paul?
just skip the live.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do that. Now, I do want to get into one thing, and I'm probably going to get skewered for this, but I do want to say one thing. I understand that break.
Yes,
okay, let's
right
go ahead.
now, yeah.
No, I thought you said
Yeah,
skip
no
the
live.
live.
Go
okay.
do the break, but not the live.
Well, then I didn't hear that. I'm glad I'm not flying the airplane. We'll be back in a moment.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Ram Power Days are going on now at Allen Samuels with the new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $7,000 or 2.9% for 72 months. The 1500 Lone Star Quad Crew Cab offers style and dependability for any job. It's the Ram Power Days going on now at Allen Samuels, 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Fresno State has been a fun story in college football. We've had a lot of them. We had NC State. We featured them yesterday with Jonas Pope IV, who covers the Wolfpack, ranked in the top 25 after the win against Clemson. Fresno State, Robert Kawada joins us from the Fresno Bee And I've always liked Fresno State. Robert, that's where Pat Hill was, right?
That's the place.
Yeah, he was. I mean, that was a team that people put on their non-conference schedule that sometimes they would regret. So I've always liked them. I've always thought they're pretty good. Tell us a little bit about the momentum they have right now, and they're getting top 25 and all that stuff that goes with it.
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's been a lot of fun so far to watch these guys go out and compete every Saturday. I think schedule set up well. Early on, they got a chance to stick their toe and get an easy win, and go up to Oregon where they played really well. I think they thought that was a winnable game for them, which is a pretty big step for a program that hadn't always had success against Power 5 teams, and they came back 2 weeks later and actually did win down at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. So, they're riding a pretty good wave right now.
What does that UCLA win mean for them when it comes to recruiting and just different things down the line in the future?
Oh, it's big for the program, no doubt. I mean, people around town will tell you, well, we've beaten UCLA 4 times in a row, so what's the big deal? But it really is a big deal for a school like Fresno State. I mean, it's one of those deals where, UCLA would never go to Fresno to play a game. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen down there. And I think Fresno State program, the city, they all really enjoy going down there and winning a football game.
How much of a difference have you seen? We've noticed a large difference here in Waco with Baylor from last year to this year, all the things that teams had to deal with last season. Do you feel that sense of only playing 6 games last year, now having the full meal deal? Can you feel that difference with the program?
Oh, no doubt. And I think people really are unaware about how hard COVID had hit this program last year. That they were picked to finish 4th in their division in the Mountain West, and I think the season win total in Vegas was like 6, which was pretty ridiculously low, I thought. They had so many problems. They ended the year with maybe got 60 guys who could go out there and play, a little bit more than that, and they didn't have a spring practice last year. They didn't have any summer conditioning. They got a call one day and were in fall camp the very next, and went out there and tried to play football. And they went to Utah State. They were fine until then, COVID-wise, and then it hit them, and it hit them hard, and it was hard to get through that year. And then you come back, they do have a spring, they do have a summer. They got really good strength and conditioning program that they got a chance to go through and learn new systems. Last year was the first year with Kalen DeBoer back and a new defense, and they were just, learning as it went last year. And now they have a little base under them, little foundation, and it's showing.
Yeah, Fresno State's had some downtimes, but they've beaten Pac-12 teams. They've beaten, as I mentioned earlier, whatever you want to call FBS teams as well. But UCLA almost took Oregon down. Down the road, they have what? Boise State is getting a lot of attention for who they are. That's obviously a conference game. But is there any chip on their shoulder? Right now there seems to be. We had a running back, Sincere McCormick from UT San Antonio, and he admitted. He said, yeah, it's a chip on our shoulder when all this realignment talk and a lot of teams are being left out. Is that even on the radar there?
No, not so much the realignment, but the chip on the shoulder, absolutely. It's something, you mentioned Pat Hill, it goes back even farther than that, to Jim Sweeney years back in we're talking decades and decades ago. It's what Fresno State football and basketball, as the whole athletics program has been built on. They're stuck in the middle of California between USC and UCLA down south, and Cal and Stanford to the north, and they've always had that type of mentality. So, it's something that is in play every week.
What's the biggest difference Kalen DeBoer's made in that year or so as a head coach?
Like I said, I think they just had a chance to implement their systems and get things going and get guys into, nutrition programs, strength and conditioning programs. That's made a huge difference. He's been the driver behind that, obviously, and he was familiar with the program coming back. He was the offensive coordinator here in 2017 and 18 under Jeff Tedford. Went to Indiana for a year and then came back. And, he knows the landscape. He knows how to navigate the university administration, the athletics administration. He's a very sharp guy. So he knows exactly what he's doing here, how to get things done. And that's, it's not always easy at a place, at a group of five type place.
Go ahead, Craig. You get those late games, don't you? You get it's not quite Pac-12 after dark, but I guess in some cases it is. What time? And I know it's relative because if you're on the West Coast, whatever is 6 o'clock there, 8 o'clock here, games end at midnight here or whatever. But what's the latest on a home game that you've ever gotten back to where you live in the morning? Like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, geez. No, last week they started at probably around 7:45 our time, so 9:45 your time. They're going to Hawaii this week, and the game's going to start, 8 o'clock Pacific time, so 10 o'clock for you. The late starts. I was actually surprised after that UCLA game. I thought it might take a week before people started voting for him in the top 25, just because the game ended, 11:30 here in California, and I wasn't expecting that many people to stay up and watch them, to be honest. So, it's something. It's just part of the deal out here. TV is going to tell you when to play, and you go out and play when there's a spot.
Well, there are some teams that do get some attention, Craig.
So, Robert, Jake Hayner's quarterback Jake Hayner's had an interesting journey to get to be in this spot to where he's really thriving right now. Only 50 incompletions on the year. He's 136 of 186, which is pretty ridiculous, and nearly 2,000 yards already. Just a couple of turnovers compared to 15 touchdowns. How interesting has it been to watch his journey, and what have you seen from him as a vital part of the success the Bulldogs are having?
Yeah, he is obviously huge to their success, and he's just, again, going back to last year, he transferred here in 2019 from Washington and sat out, kind of ran the scout team, and then, Tedford, who came here to play for, retires due to health concerns, and, he's kind of not adrift, but obviously not in the spot he thought he would be. Then COVID hits, and he gets no spring ball after that, and then no summer, and if you look at what they did last year, the first game was a little rough, and then they just flipped a switch. And ever since then, it's been mind-boggling what they've been able to get done. So, he's, like I said, 3,800 yards plus at this point. And, if you look at his 11 games that he's played here, he'd be in the top 4 all time at the school in terms of passing yards if you put those 11 games over one season. And they've obviously had some really good quarterbacks here, from David Carr to Derek Carr to Trent Dilfer, and quite a few others. So it's been impressive.
Robert, I know you got to go catch basketball practice. Thanks for your time. We appreciate your time today talking Fresno State.
Sure, anytime.
Yes, sir. Robert Kawada, the Fresno Bee. They're a good football team. They have the one loss to Oregon, and that was 31-24. Beat UCLA when everyone was starting to jump on that UCLA bandwagon, which is dangerous. And they still have Boise State a little bit down the road.
Yeah, no, they're a team that can score. They're a team that's been solid now for a little while, and yeah, they're dangerous out. Very, very nearly could have won that Oregon game. If they're sitting there at 5-0 right now, that'd be interesting to see where they would be placed in the conversation, because you wouldn't be able to say, well, they haven't played anybody like that you typically do with, non-Power 5 schools or whatever. No, they've already played 2 top 15 teams. They beat one of them, both from the Pac-12, and nearly beat the other one. So yeah, they're a solid football program, and Hayner brought him up because he has had a weird journey, being at another school, coming to another school, play for a guy. That guy's suddenly not there, and just having to stick through it, and it's paying dividends for him. He's having a monster year for that football team.
Had one game, I think, 455 yards passing. John Machota normally joins us Wednesdays at 5. He's at 5:30. Cowboys coming off the huge win against Philadelphia. We'll come back and read some of the chat room, the text line. Line open if you'd like to discuss a few things with us as well. 254-339-1122. Sikkim 365 Radio.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgan Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgan Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sic 'em Bears.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneerboys.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th at Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
For a limited time, refinance your vehicle and have 90 days with zero payments. Only at Genco FCU. Refinancing lowers your rate and you pay less for your car. You can't pass on rates as low as 1.75% for 48 months. Apply online today.
Annual percentage rate subject to change without notice. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. Go to GencoFCU.org. NCUA Equal Housing Lender.
My money, my future, my credit union. Genco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
They dropped a snap. Purdy throws off his heels, and it's intercepted.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, we're back, 254-339-1122. Some of you continue to send text, direct messages, and much more about the conversation about the game day atmosphere at Baylor.
I think Mac did bring up a good point about the NLRB or whatever.
National Labor, yeah.
It's about, it's not a ruling, it's not a decision, but that has not stopped media from pretending that it is, because I've seen countless articles now of like
chum in the water, though.
This is it's definitely chum in the water, and they're mixing it all up and stirring it and all of that. But yeah, this is not like a concrete decision that was made today. This was a ruling, if anything. So there's still some things to play out here. But you can tell from his voice, and it's the same thing I was saying, like in talking about this subject, is we don't know every little detail or, again, it's not anything official. So it remains to be seen, but I'm kind of on his side of things as far as just unintended consequences. I think he said pretty much what I was saying earlier, and I agree with him. It's just it's an unknown thing, but you do worry about the unintended consequences, and I'm not sure the ones that are pushing it forward really worry about those unintended consequences. Maybe because they don't have to deal with them. I don't know, but there definitely will be some, and that's part of it, I guess.
From Tony on the text line, the big kicker is going to be hiring creators to build content for the athletes. I'll give you an example, he said. Tony goes, Craig and 3 Upwork contractors could run and release all the content for Charlie and Gary and do the work for half the profits. These athletes don't usually have the time or skills experience to build their own platforms. So then somebody else is going to get some of the money too, right?
Right, yeah.
That's going to be a boom. That's going to be a boom soon, is from what Tony mentioned on the text.
Yeah, anybody where anybody can get their hand in the pot somehow or another, absolutely. I mean, and I don't say that in a disparaging way across the board either. I mean, yeah, there's clothing companies that are making T-shirts for these guys and girls, and, they're going to get some cut. I mean, they provide the material and the ink and, all of that, so they have an interest in partnering if they think there's a quarterback at Texas Tech that can sell them, 1,000 T-shirts or whatever. So, yeah, there's a lot of people that love this idea because they're the people who are going to make the T-shirts or who have created those new agencies in the last year, of which I would be curious to see how many of those have popped up, those directly relating to student athletes. Oh, I said the buzzword, but student athletes and their brands. I would imagine there's probably dozens of businesses that have been created in the last year because of name, image, likeness. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of people they're looking at this as an opportunity to gain a little bit more. It's an opportunity for the student athletes potentially gain a little more. And where else you feel the ramifications, I don't know. But unintended consequences, that's the term that kind of sticks in my head as well.
All right, I've got to say something. And you guys don't have to say anything, but here's a lot of you sent, and we appreciate it. I mean, from whether it was Sikkim365.com in the premium section, text messages personally to me, direct messages to me. When I put up the lineup today that Mac would be a part of the lineup, I had 5 or 6 of you ask me, like one person said, please ask him about the game day experiences. And then the next person, will you please ask him about the game day experiences? And then I have always tried to pass along what some of you have asked us to ask him. But I have to say this, and I am going to possibly be butchered for this. Just beat the number 14 ranked team in the country. From where I'm sitting, I don't have to worry about the sun. I'm in the press box. I don't have to sit in the sun for 3 or 4 or 5 hours. I don't have time to tailgate. Sikkim365.com has a great setup across the street in the Brazos parking. I understand that there's a lot of concerns about what used to be, because we used to broadcast from what was across the bridge, the pedestrian bridge, and it was exciting and it was energetic. And a lot of those who tailgated there are now across MLK. I get that. A lot of that was cost. A lot of that was also the ability of using your own tents and product. But I got to tell you, the student section and across the way, whether it's on television or not, in a game that was against the 14th ranked team in the country for a school coming off 2-7, the crowd at the end of the game was, maybe they were underneath where the shade was, and that's great because I heard the crowd. But I honestly have to say this, and this is me just being stupid by saying this. My God, is there anyone ever happy? Ever? It's like every week someone is bitching and moaning about something. Kickoff time. Baylor has nothing to do with that. 11 o'clock's too early. 7 o'clock's too late. Basketball. Games that start at 8, that's too late. Well, it's on a Wednesday. There's church. I get that you have to make your own decisions. The uniforms. What colors they're wearing. And I get you want your traditional colors or whatever. Everybody has their favorite uniforms. And they've cut back dramatically on what they used to wear. The berm.
The music.
The
video,
music. The PA.
Sun. The sun. Mac, get rid of the sun.
I don't say this to be flippant, but it's sunny all over the country. And I see stadiums, not all of them, But I see teams that are winless with their stadiums are packed, sitting in the sun and in the South. I say that only because it seemed they just beat Iowa State in a great football game. Crazy, but great. And I got one after another. I don't want you to stop sending me complaints because I will ask them. I've proven to you that. I've done that all the time. But really, my God, how many were about winning the damn football game? Okay, there were a few of those as well, but I'm telling you, I just don't quite get it. I know it's been that way. I know whatever I say, I didn't go to Baylor. I get that. I've heard that. Shut up, you didn't go to Baylor. You're not sitting in the sun. I saw someone tell Craig they'll flip positions with him.
Yeah, they said that after I said, look, I have no place to judge because I was in the press box. But from my vantage point, I looked across from the press box, and it was an entirely half-empty side of the stadium. Like, completely empty for the most part. Like, dots here and there. But we're talking about the second onside kick is being made, and half the stadium's missing. From my vantage point. So I understood that, and, like, the first response I get is, well, yeah, I'd love to switch places. That wasn't my point. My point was just the optics of it. It doesn't, you can say why it does, why there's not people with butts in seats. You can say it's the sun. You can say it's the prices. You can say it's this or that. But bottom line is, Joe Blow watching on TV doesn't know that it's hot. Joe Blow doesn't know that you can't stand the heat or that you're unhappy about this or whatever. They look at that stadium and they say, damn, they got a top 25 game and it's going down to the wire and like nobody's in the stands. That's what it looks like. That's what people see. They don't get on the message boards and see all of the details of why that may be the case. So my whole point was just like optically, it looked bad. Not any judgment whatsoever on the reasons for why it looked bad, but it looked bad.
And when's the game on the line? It could be the opening kickoff. It could be something when the muff punt, but it's also that it's like that on the other side. I get it's hot. But I don't understand. I've never understood it. I'll never understand it. I've been told that I should shut up when I talk about the crowd. Okay, I will shut up. It's your football team. It's your program. It's your university. It is you're fighting for your lives to have a conference survive. And you're talking about, well, Memphis doesn't have a lot of people or Boise State and yet look at Saturday. Against the 14th ranked team in the country, they got a lot of attention. So West Virginia is going to be an 11 o'clock kick. Mm-hmm. I don't know what happens in Stillwater. I don't know if they win the game or not. It's going to be a hell of a game. 11 o'clock kick.
It's too early.
If they beat Oklahoma State or not, that place should be. I understand Baylor doesn't have 50,000 students, the huge alumni base. I get that. I've learned that. But I've also seen that place packed. I've seen it rocking. This team has given you a reason to be there. But, I mean, the music and the PA and the timing and the flyovers and all that, it seems like, God, I'm just telling you, it seems like it's always something.
Okay, from the chat, this is relevant. Jay Bird, remember when Texas had 10 consecutive 10-win seasons and their fan base complained nonstop? So it's not just Baylor.
No.
It's not just Baylor. That's the one that we see. But it is something that we see a lot. And I do think, though, if you're going to complain, you're trying to find the acceptable reason that you just want to go home and watch it on TV. That's what you're trying to find.
A lot of cases, that's the reason, yeah.
That you're just trying to explain to your social group why you don't want to go, and you're trying to find that one reason where they'll go, I get that. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on. Look, you're either going to go or you're not going to go. And my poor mother has been to many sporting events with me in my life, and she had to drag around with me and my dad. My sister was with us when she was a kid, and I remember so many times where, Mom and Laura are like, well, this game is in the bag, and then my dad and I turn and look at them going, my dad's perspective was like, no, I paid $75 a piece for these tickets. We're getting $75 out of this game. And my perspective was, no, there's not zeros on the clock. They haven't had the last out. We're going to stay and we're going to see all of this. You wouldn't leave a movie early. You wouldn't leave Rocky before he beats Drago. You would stay. And so I just think if you're going to go, you're going to go. If you're not, don't go. Don't try to make an excuse. Don't try to complain. Just be like, look, it's not for me. I've got a big, gigantic, gorgeous TV in my air conditioning. It's cheaper. I can make what I want. I think the hot dogs are better at my house, and stay home.
Yeah, I think, this is not just a Baylor thing.
The phone line's open because Diane just tried to call in.
Sorry.
Yeah, so this is not just a Baylor thing, as you said, but I think that sometimes you can become a prisoner of where you are and think because you're just hearing from Baylor fans constantly that's them and them only. It's not the case. It is people across. But yeah, there is an incessant amount of complaining about things like kickoff times. I mean, that no one other than the TV networks and the conference have control over. I know Oklahoma for a long time, it's like a recurring joke that they get all these 11 a.m. kicks. And I don't know what kind of an overall impact it's had on their attendance, but I feel like most of the times I watch Oklahoma games, they may not want the 11 a.m. kick, but they're going to show up for the 11 a.m. kick because that's what they do. And it's not, it's too hot today, or the hot dogs aren't any good, or I had a hard time. Like, look, there's legitimate complaints. Like, if the concessions are really terrible or something, like, that does need to be known. Mm-hmm. But, like, there's certain factors that, like, you either want to go to the game or you don't. And if you don't, then don't go. And if you want to, then show up and be loud, like so many others do. But my whole takeaway from this is not necessarily the complaints, many of which are valid, some of which are just people needing everything, I guess. It's just what you said about they're coming off of a huge win, the biggest win they've had easily in a very long time. I mean, 6 years. 6 years since they beat a top 25 team. 6 years, guys. And that was a big win. That was a big win for them. They're 4-0. They could, if they go in in Stillwater this weekend, like, shoot, man, like, all bets are off on where they could head this season. And in some cases, they've already surpassed that by being 4-0 because a lot of people thought Iowa State would be a loss on the schedule. So they're cruising right now in a good way and playing a good brand of football. Not cruising necessarily, but you know what I mean. They've got momentum. They've got a good thing going. And, just for me, like, I get to be in the press box. You think that's like the greatest thing, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not the most fun thing to be. Sometimes I'd rather be in the crowd. And I'll tell you what, I would have showed up on Saturday as a fan if that's what I was able to do. And I wouldn't have showed up because of what drinks they had to offer or what music they were playing or this or that. I would have showed up to see the damn football game. That's why I'm there. I'm there for the football game and to see Iowa State versus Baylor. So that would have been my focus. But for people who have been doing it, week after week, year after year, I'm sure it's different for you. But to me, it's about the football game, and they won. And there's more complaints about what wasn't happening or what wasn't right versus like the fact that the football team won a giant game.
And I know that some of the complaining is valid, and I also understand because you care. So I will say that. Paul?
Okay. We'll take this call, and then we got to go break for John Machota. Let's go to Diane in Dallas. Thanks for your call.
Hi, guys. Thanks for taking me. I just want to kind of clarify that you're talking about complaints a lot, and I think feedback. I mean, I'm sure you guys get a lot of complaints, but I saw a lot of feedback on the boards and stuff related to the game day experience. As a fan who was there at the game, as a season ticket holder, I was in the sun, and I sat there the entire game. And my thought continued to be, this team deserves better. Other than my sitting there and cheering, the only thing that I could think of is how do we get people to sit out here and participate? And that's where my thoughts go to the fan engagement and game day experience. Mm-hmm. If you have people that are not as interested and invested in the football game as Craig just described, how do you get them to sit out there in the sun and enjoy it? I think that the game day experience plays a part of that. So I don't see it as a complaint to say, I wish that we would up the game for game day experience. I see it as, what can we do better?
That's a great point.
Out there and they're better. Why can't we do better at Sam?
No, I love the way you worded that. You're exactly right. Thanks for the call, Diane.
Yeah, and Diane,
one of the most loyal people we have listening to this show from day one.
Yeah, and those types of people like yourself are not the people that we're talking to. In most cases, I think we've all said, hey, there is valid criticism. Like if things aren't, like I just said, the concessions, if those aren't operating right, absolutely, everybody has every right to say, like, look, we can't even get a cold drink, we can't even get ice cubes in our drinks, and it's hot as hell out here.
That happened earlier in the stadium.
Exactly. And that's unacceptable.
Yeah. And that's something
that place is no longer in existence as far as here.
Yeah, and look, they've got to get the tailgating fixed. I mean, they got to get that. Yeah. They and the tailgate guys have to get more people out there.
Yes.
That's a big deal. They have to do that, but that's a valid concern. But some of it is, if you're complaining about the sun,
and that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's people complaining about the heat, and there's nothing. That's just complaining because there's nothing that anyone can do about that. But no, Diane. Yeah, I mean, there's two separate groups. There's the groups such as yourself, not trying to divide people, that have valid criticism, and you want that game day experience to be better. So when people do come to Waco for the first time, they have a great experience and want to come back. And you're absolutely right in the fan engagement. I think that's where the focus needs to be, more so than what's not right or whatever, is where can we build up. And so I think that and I know Chris Fuentes has been huge on offering to help to increase fan engagement, and that hasn't gotten back around to him for whatever reason. But I mean, there's definitely people out there like yourselves willing to do it, and kudos to you all. But for the ones that they need an umbrella person over them, and a filet mignon in front of them, and no TV time. Like there's some complaints though that are just. It's just like you're never going to be happy, but definitely get where you're coming from, and thank you.
We do the pregame show from here. We used to do it over across the pedestrian bridge, and it used to be wall to wall, shoulder to shoulder. It's not like that. In some cases, you could say it's a ghost town. They made a change. They'll have to adjust to it. Maybe too much money, or maybe being able to use what you bought to put up tents. I don't know. That's a contract. Just like you have a contract in your business. Yeah. I'm sure they're not just turning their head. I'm sure that they'll discuss it. Send me an email. I'm about to post it on the site. And if you want to text me on the text line, I'll give you my email address and I'll forward it. But don't send me 5 paragraphs. Send me 2 or 3 bullet points and I'll pass it on.
Yeah, and so like that right there, absolutely valid. You think that situation's wrong with the tailgating, and I know I have seen a lot of complaints about tailgate guys and just what that setup's like. Haven't been able to experience it myself, so take your word for it. But yeah, I mean that's absolutely, and that's why I asked Mac, like, is there a certified way for people to just shoot you emails that directly involve that? And I think maybe we got the ball rolling a little bit on them having something for people to be able to express those opinions or complaints or whatever. So hey, maybe we kick the ball down the road a little, or in a good way down the road a little bit today. We'll see if they set something up to where fans can do that. But yeah, definitely not talking about the type of fan like you, Diane. You have every reason to want to see things get improved. So speaking to kind of 2 different parties here.
When we come back, John Machota, the Cowboys with a huge win on the road in L.A., and they followed up with a win against the Eagles. Offense looked fantastic, explosive. Time and clock management a little iffy again. The defense creates turnovers like nobody else in the NFL. And John Machota is next on Sikkim 365 Radio.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday Friday after 2 or all day Saturday and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house-cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic.
Just a sneak for Prescott, and he's in. Touchdown.
Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, John Machota, theathletic.com. Cowboys 2-1. Carolina. Matt Rule, former Baylor head coach, comes to town after they won in Houston. Now they come back to Arlington, and John joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio. John, what is this rash of creating turnovers? This is like against the Dallas religion of the Cowboys for 20 years.
It really has. I've heard from other reporters that other teams do this from time to time. I have not seen it. So this is such a new thing to me that I'm just constantly like, all right, well, we'll see if this happens again next week. And then it happened again next. And then you're like, all right, well, let me wait until see if it happens again the week after that. And it has. And for me, it just keeps going back to the, Dan Quinn has to get a lot of credit for it, for the system he's put in. And then obviously, the players that he has added that have been able to make these plays. Because I can tell you that for all the better part of the last decade, it wasn't like the Cowboys weren't trying to get takeaways in practice. It wasn't like they weren't working on it. But the style of defense they play now is just one that they're willing to take a little bit more risks. And, that means they'll give up some bigger plays, but you're just kind of like, especially when you see some of these plays Trayvon Diggs is making, you're just like, okay, even if he gives up a big play here or there, let him keep doing what he's doing, because that's the type of stuff that you can get the ball back to the offense. The offense is clearly the strength of the team. That's what you want. And I'm cautious to say I think that it can continue, but just because of this better part of the last decade, you almost think like, all right, well, they're due to have a game where they don't get any. But so far, especially as long as Trayvon Diggs is healthy, I think you can kind of count on them doing this.
John, just for people, this might be a little too inside baseball, but there are times over the last decade where I've been sitting in the press box looking at Twitter, the Cowboys get an interception, and all of us tweet the same thing. Like, oh my God, that was an actual interception. It happens at least once a year where everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's been 8 weeks since we've seen one of those.
It really, and hey, that's part of the reason why is because that's just the way the defense was coached for, that most of the last decade. It was to keep things in front of you. You don't give up the big plays. And basically what you do is you make opposing offenses have to go 15, 20 plays down the field, long drives. Can this offense sustain it? And most offenses can't. And so the problem is, though, is that when you play that type of defense and you're not taking the ball away against the elite of the elite quarterbacks, and those are the ones that you're going to most likely be facing in January, they'll sit there and they'll be able to put together 20-play drives. So that's part of the reason why I think that you saw this change into what they've gone to. And clearly, this is something that Dan Quinn wants to do, and it makes sense, and it's worked out well for him. And it makes you wonder, well, man, what could it be like when all the defensive, like the pieces that are missing with Keanu O'Neal and with guys like, DeMarcus Lawrence, when they get back, what could this level get to? So it's pretty exciting times for if you're a Cowboys fan watching this defense.
John, what was maybe the most surprising, if there was any surprises, and just how well they handled the Eagles? I mean, there was no doubt who the better team was by the end of that game.
There really wasn't. And I mean, I look at that Eagles squad, and it doesn't look like they belong in the same field. But at the same time, if you put Dak Prescott on that team and put Jalen Hurts on the Cowboys, I think it probably would be a different story. I mean, the key in not just between the Eagles and Cowboys, but the entire division, is that the Cowboys have an elite quarterback playing at a high level right now. Now, they obviously has a lot of other pieces around him. He has an offensive play caller that is doing an outstanding job, and obviously their defense has played a lot better, so that's factored in too. But, yeah, when you watch that game, none of it really felt like, oh, this is just kind of a fluke. Everything just is going the Cowboys' way. Next time they play the Eagles, it's not going to be like this. And I'm just kind of like, no, the next time they play the Eagles, it could be even worse.
Yeah.
Unless they improve at the quarterback position. And right now, if you're a Cowboys fan, you look across that division and you see, okay, our team has Dak Prescott, and you look at the other teams and you're like, they have Tyler Heineke and Jalen Hurts and Daniel Jones. You have to feel pretty good about where you are in the division, because frankly, what we're looking at right now is the NFC East is what the NFC East was last year. This is what the Cowboys look like when they're healthy, well, relatively healthy at least, and you have your franchise quarterback.
All right, so Micah Parsons, he won the game basically against the Chargers because he forced that crazy sack or in the grass, which I didn't think was a good call, but it kept them from possibly having better field position, or like inside the 10. But now they're putting him at defensive end. He's creating havoc. He's an incredible player. So what happens when they get people back? Because isn't that one of the most important things that defense can ever do is put pressure on a quarterback?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. And then if you were kind of, the only other thing would be to have, that elite shutdown corner. So basically the Rams are the blueprint for it. If you can have a pressure player like Aaron Donald on the front, and then you have a guy like Jalen Ramsey on the back, I mean, that's where you spend your money, no question about it, in today's NFL on defense. And so while I agree with that, if they are healthy and they have DeMarcus Lawrence back and they have Randy Gregory, I just think that he can make such a big impact on this team doing both. And that's, playing as a linebacker on first and second down, and then lining up on the outside, letting them go downhill on third down. And I think that's ultimately what you're going to see when Lawrence gets back. Dan Quinn doesn't want to show his cards right now, and he shouldn't. Heck, Michael was asked today about that, and he was like, well, I'm not going to even say, we don't want I want to keep the Panthers on edge. I think it's a pretty good possibility he's going to be playing edge again for this game. But when Lawrence gets back, that's when it'll be interesting to see what Dan Quinn does. But it is one of the key pieces on this defense is not only how good Micah Parsons has been, but it's the uncertainty that teams have in their game planning of where is this guy going to be. And really, these last 2 weeks, not only was he their edge rusher and was he effective, but it was Dan Quinn moved him around to whatever was going to be the best matchup. Oh, Chargers, your starting right tackle isn't playing? We're going to put Mike over there. Oh, Eagles, your starting left tackle isn't playing? We're going to put Mike over there, And so Micah certainly is not a completely polished edge rusher. He wins with his speed and his athleticism, but he can certainly get better in that area. I think, though, even Micah, he won't admit it, but I think he would prefer to be a linebacker who rushes from time to time as opposed to just being an edge rusher. And the other thing to your point is, the edge rusher is, I think, more important, especially if you're good at it. But when Micah's playing linebacker, he's playing 50, 55 snaps a game. When he's playing edge rusher, he's playing 37 to 39 snaps a game.
John, early draft pick returns for this team, I would say Osa Odigizua and Quentin Bohanna, outside of Micah Parsons, probably the best so far.
Really, and then even just looking at that game, like you look at Devontae Smith was the Eagles' first pick, and obviously the Cowboys traded with them so that they could come up and take Smith, and they moved back to 12. And on draft night, it was all about like, man, this is going to come back and haunt the Cowboys because they're going to have to deal with Devontae Smith for the better part of the next decade. And you're like, yeah, no, it's really possible. But then you look at what they got in return. They move back to 12, and they take Micah Parsons. And then with the third-round pick, they get Osa Odigizua. And you're kind of looking at like, man, that's a pretty good haul for, falling back to 12 to pick. It just, to kind of piggyback on being a person that covers the Cowboys and not seeing a lot of takeaways, like, when do you really see like these young defensive players coming in and making an immediate impact the way that they've had on that side of the ball? And so that's pretty refreshing too. And again, that has to go to Dan Quinn as well as putting these guys in a position where they can have success. And I think he's done that with Osa. And I think Osa can even get a lot better. I think one of the best things he does when you watch the All-22 is that he just has a high motor. I mean, he's always going and he prides himself on that. So very advantageous that he has played the way he has, because we've talked about it many times on this show that defensive tackle is one of the thinnest positions on this team. And if you ranked them coming into the season, they probably would be 32nd out of 32 teams at that position.
So, John, the Panthers have gotten off to a nice start, but not without getting dinged up a little bit. We obviously know Matt Rule very well and are excited for him and their 3-0 start. But, J.C. Horn's out. Christian McCaffrey is now hurt. Looks like Chuba Hubbard, who Matt Rule knows very well, will be the main guy at running back for the Panthers. Just what are your instant takes and your kind of carryover takes as far as this matchup goes, and what maybe is problematic for Dallas or could present problems, and where you think they can feast a bit?
I'll tell you what, this doesn't happen much in the NFL. This is more of a college football thing. But being in that stadium Monday night with just everything that was going on, from Dak coming back, the stadium being fully filled for the first time in over a year, 90,000 plus in there, the fact that they played well, Monday Night Football, you're playing against a division rival, you're dominating them, and then the halftime with Jimmy Johnson, and just everything was like the perfect storm. You almost are like, oh, noon game against the Panthers? Oh, this looks like a trap game. Like, are they gonna kind of maybe overlook this? And then, as you mentioned, you take out J.C. Horn and Christian McCaffrey. Like, are they gonna sleep on this 3-0 team? Even though they got a young coach and all that stuff. I don't think they will, just because this isn't some team that's really proven a lot in the Cowboys. I think that a lot of young guys that are they feel like their best ball is ahead of them. So I don't think that they'll come out lackadaisical, but there is a part of that in the back of my mind. Maybe it's because of watching college football and you see a team get up for having to play like an Alabama or an Ohio State, and then the next week they're just completely flat. But it's just something to kind of keep an eye on, because I could see coming off of what they had to potentially overlook this game, and that would be a huge mistake, because this Panthers team, while they are missing those pieces, they're a good defensive team. Matt Rule is obviously a good coach, as you guys are well aware of. Sam Darnold's playing much better than he did with the Jets. And even when he was with the Jets, one of the best games he ever had with the Jets was against the Cowboys. So this is not a team that you should sleep on, but there's a part of me that thinks, it's going to be interesting to watch them in the first quarter.
Amari Cooper and his rib looked okay the other night. I mean, the stats were a little scattered because they didn't need anybody to have a huge night, but the Cowboys concerned at all about him going forward?
They aren't as of right now, because what he has, he can play through. I just wonder how much it impacts him being the typical Amari, because Monday night he's playing with basically the same rib protector that you see college quarterbacks wearing, and so that's going to affect your mobility. He's not going to be able to do the same things there. But frankly, he really doesn't have to, because of all the weapons they have on offense. It's kind of crazy to think what they've done these last two games, and they haven't had Michael Gallup. And you just think of like Blake Jarwin hasn't had a major impact, and he certainly can do that on offense. Because frankly, you've had CeeDee Lamb play the way he has. You've had Dalton Schultz step up. You've had, Tony Pollard and Zeke, play well. So there's just a lot of different weapons here. Cedric Wilson obviously stepped up this past, Monday night. And so because of that, there's just so many different options that Dak has to go to. There's so many different options of plays that Kellen Moore can call, that I don't know that you need Amari to be the Amari that he's been in years past, and you almost can let him heal. But the thing is, you do have to have the threat of him out there, and so I think that's what the plan is that we're gonna hope that his ribs continue to heal while he has the extra protection on, and maybe at some point in maybe the next few weeks he can go back to not having to wear that and get a little bit back to how he was before the rib injury.
All right, so Super Bowl tickets are being printed right now. This is what they do, Paul.
Yeah,
they
get us all
tease you,
excited.
they lure you into the web, and then they blow a tire.
You got to admit, though, this feels different.
No, it does, because the defense was always going to eventually just, be like a wet paper sack. And I love, you know what, and everyone, they are playing and they're playing with energy. That doesn't mean they're not going to get boat raced by somebody or have a bad loss or someone runs for 200 yards against them. But they're playing, John, they look like they're playing with a rhyme and a reason. Yeah, I don't know if that's simple or what.
No, I think that's a good point. And I think it's because you have a mixture of things going on with this team. You have a young offensive coordinator who obviously wants to prove himself. You have a coach on the defensive side who got fired in Atlanta, who clearly believes that he should be a head coach in the NFL. He's hungry. He has these guys bought in. And then you have some free agents like the Keanu Neals and the J-Ron Curses and DeMonte Kazis and Malik Hookers that probably feel like they're pretty overlooked, that they're signing these one-year deals for very little money. And then you have the young rookies that mix in. There just isn't a lot of guys that are walking out there that are like, yeah, we've done this before. Yeah, we can just show up. We're fine. You have a quarterback that's obviously coming off of getting the largest contract in franchise history, and he's coming off of a major injury. There's just a lot of hunger there. And then you mix it all up, and you have the fact that they were just so disappointing last year, and that's left such a bad taste in their mouth. There's just a lot for them to prove. But, to your point about the Super Bowl tickets, that is what is done around here. And it's not only on the local level, but nationally it happens with the Cowboys. And so anybody listening to this, please don't think that, I'm sitting here trying to say that, oh, yeah, this get ready, they're going to be making a run. There's 25, 26 years that have proven otherwise. But to your point, it does feel a little different right now. It feels like, hey, they're overcoming injuries. They're doing different things. It's not the same game plan from week to week. And this looks like what good teams in the NFL do to win. They're doing something different from week to week. And you're not able to just game plan with, oh, this is what the Cowboys are going to do, so we know this will happen. If they don't play well, then they lose. No, they have different types of things they're doing. They have different answers to the test. There's just a lot of reasons to be excited, especially because it's not even like they're at 100% right now, and they have a lot of guys that will come back later in the season, like DeMarcus Lawrence, who could make a huge impact. So I can totally understand why people are excited, and I can totally understand why people are like, hey, pump the brakes right now.
Look, right now, the biggest complaint is that Mike McCarthy doesn't know how to work that thing with the numbers on it that tells you how long you have to do things. Oh, the clock. Yeah, he hasn't figured that one out yet, but maybe if he does.
Yeah, John, what did you think of Peyton Manning's reaction to that? On the did you get to see the Manning cast clip of him yelling at Mike McCarthy to call a timeout?
Yeah, so what I do on any of the nationally televised games, my younger brother usually watches them, and what he does is he'll send me videos of any of the best stuff because I'm not being able to watch in the press box, so that I can tweet it out if there's any. So he was sending me some of the best stuff, and obviously my hat's off to him. He hooked me up with a lot of my Twitter content for that game for sure, and he sent me that, and I couldn't tweet that thing fast enough because a tweet or a writing of Peyton's words take it to a certain level, but you really need the video to just really see the disgust on Peyton's face, him dropping his head. He was so disappointed. And it's one of those things where you can make an excuse and say, hey, they had 20-7 lead, man. Take that in the locker room. Everything's going good. But then there's the other part where you're like, yeah, and this is one of the greatest NFL players ever, and he's just as frustrated as I am sitting, on my couch watching this game. That takes things to another level. And so it was interesting yesterday in the press conference how Mike McCarthy pointed out how he's like, there's just so much praise coming right now for this team. And there's just, he said something along the lines of, we got toothaches right now because of all the praise or whatever. And then he throws in at the end, well, except for me, of course. And it was one of those things where it was a joke, but it was kind of like, I guarantee he feels that way. It's like, man, everything's heading in the right direction. Everything's going well. But still, people are criticizing me for something, and it's this clock management. And to be honest with you, there is a part of me that watches and they're like, they got by these last two games with wins, so you can kind of like push it to the side. But there is a party in the back of your mind that you're like, is a clock management mistake going to cost them a game in the near future? Could it cost them a game in the playoffs? And that's when that's when you think it's bad right now here. Let one of those mistakes or one of those clock issues cost you when it's a big game and it really matters. I don't think the fans are going and media alike are going to be too kind if that's the result.
John, great stuff. Thank you. John Machota, theathletic.com, with us on Wednesdays, usually in the 5 o'clock hour, depending on things that he has as well.
They're good, man. They're good.
Yeah.
And they are really not nearly 100%, and I just don't know who's stopping that offense. I mean, consistently enough to be able to beat the Cowboys.
That's what was impressive about the Chargers, is that hell of a game, and of course a 56-yarder wins it with Zerline, and all of that was the fact that game had a bunch of 10-plus yard plays, lots of long plays, and then it was 14-14 till late in the game. So the Chargers, who then did they not just go to Kansas City and win?
Yep, they did.
Yeah. So it's fun. I love it. I do. The only thing about the NFL that continues to push me away at times is the incessant flags. It is just killing me as far as a fan that wants to watch a game. All right, when we come back.
You cover the Big 12 for a living. Imagine that.
Yeah. I mean,
imagine being so anti-flag, but covering the Big 12.
I was earlier today saying that I was complaining about not having a replay or two on a couple of plays, and oh my God, what am I saying?
Look, part of the thing is one of the NFL's officials for a long time, I haven't seen him do a game this year, but Walt Anderson was running the Big 12 officials for a good long while and kind of brought that philosophy of, just the minutia of things to the Big 12, and that's why you saw. We're going to review the spot of the ball on a first and 10 play, 11 minutes left in the first quarter, and he got a yard.
Yeah. No, I know. No, it was. And you're right. They did it. And it didn't make any sense. When we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Escape the mundane with the responsive power and exhilarating agility of a new Cadillac from Richard Carr Cadillac. Smile behind the wheel again in the supercharged sophistication of a CT4 or CT5 sedan, or the sporty and spacious XT4, XT5, or XT6 lineup of SUVs. Starting at only $33,395, the Cadillac of your dreams is waiting now at an affordable price at Richard Carr. Test drive from the expansive selection at Richard Carr Cadillac, or let us bring a test drive to you. Go to richardcarcadillac.com to schedule a test drive today.
It's football season. Sports bettors and BetUS.com has your NFL and college football live betting lines up for their 27th year. Why BetUS.com? Well, they're the 3-decade leader, and you can join now for a 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 with cash, or a 200% bonus on crypto with SICK'EM200. The 3-decade leader with action on every sport across the world. We can pretty much guarantee that they've got your game at BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Champion Salon and Barber. Go to championsalonandbarber.com and book your appointment. You can get the Champion with beard sculpting. That's what I do. Go in and get all this done. I'm very handsome, but it doesn't just happen. You know, it takes a little work.
I'm going to keep typing here. I'm not listening to you.
Just saying. Good-looking guy. People tell me all the time.
Are they paying $500 for every one of these top fives? Because you should be getting that kind of money.
Yeah. All right. Top 5. We did top 5 splash hires that didn't work out. And these are non-splash hires that did work out. So these are non-splash. These were people complained about these, or this wasn't good enough, or who was that guy? These are ones that did work out. Number 5, and I know this team is up and down, but David Cutcliffe at Duke. Duke had no football anything to talk about before David Cutcliffe, and he's gotten him into several bowl games, and this wasn't a splash, but it was a fit, and it worked, and he's been there a good long time. And yeah, they're not great, but they're not a complete doormat anymore.
He is solid as a rock. That doesn't mean they're always going to be good, but he is solid as a rock. We've seen him firsthand a couple of times against Baylor. I love what he does, considering who they recruit.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a program where you're winning much of anything. Let's be honest about it. But, I mean, no, he's been a steady hand. You don't hear about any issues, really, or, not that I follow Duke football particularly closely, but I know that when Baylor played them in a couple games, the amount of respect that people like Matt Rule had for David Cutcliffe, and obviously his history with quarterbacks is well documented in his success in that area. But yeah, I mean, he squeezes the most out of that he can. It's been a bit of struggle the last couple of years, but he gets a lot out of a program that otherwise most people wouldn't think about too much.
Yeah. Number 4, Kyle Whittingham at Utah. Urban Meyer left, and Utah maybe had to think like, man, we're not, just had one of the rising stars in Urban Meyer when he left Utah. How are you going to do that again? How are you be consistent? Kyle Whittingham's been there ever since Urban Meyer left.
See, that's hard.
Urban Meyer's been there to 3 different places since Kyle Whittingham took over at Utah.
In 4 hospitals. You're right. I did not realize that he was the one who came in after. He's been there for a long time. And they've been good at times, really good at times.
Yeah, they have. They've been really good, often at times with him at the helm. And, obviously they're having to work through some changes right now with Cam Rising taking over, although it looks like that'll be for a positive. But, Kyle Whittingham's a great coach. Been at it a long time, like you said, and has provided Utah with a lot of success.
Yeah. Number 3, and this is going to be a homer one, but it's true because we said it here, Matt Rule at Baylor. It was completely no splash. It was the guy from Temple, and even then, most of us had to Google Temple, right?
Yeah, no, when I first saw his name pop up, I guess that would have been like 5 or so years ago now at this point. I remember there was a lot of talk about Sonny Dykes. I remember there was a lot of talk about, Chad Morris. There was a lot of talk about a couple of others as well. There was basically no talk about Matt Rule, like none. They kept that interest pretty under wraps. And then, I remember the day I was sitting in the studio and get the text or whatever that he's the new head coach, and I had to say it. I had to go, huh? Who? And, quickly realized, like, okay, I've seen a little bit, but I had no idea who he was or what he was about or anything like that. Yeah, it wasn't splashy from that standpoint. Then you heard all about him, and you're like, okay, obviously a lot of people respect the guy. He's just not widely known. But, now here he is. He's a head coach of an NFL team and, nearly won a Big 12 title. But, definitely not a splash hire.
Yeah. Number 2, and I debated on who to put on this in number 2 because number 1 was always going to be the guy I had it. And Tony Altimore called out that I maybe should have mentioned Pete Carroll. But I don't know how off the radar non-splash. He was a 2-time NFL head coach. But number 2, Jim Harbaugh at Stanford. Not at Michigan. He was a splash hire at Michigan for sure. But Jim Harbaugh at Stanford. He was coming from San Diego. Not San Diego State, San Diego. He was at the FCS level, came up to Stanford, and turned Stanford into a perennial power in the Pac-12 or Pac whatever it was. I guess it's maybe Pac-10 then. But then he parlayed the NFL, and then of course now to Michigan. But at the time, Jim Harbaugh, I remember when he got hired at Stanford, I was like, oh, the guy was the quarterback for a while. Oh, good for him. That's neat.
Yeah, and he did really well there. I mean, it did set him up for the NFL. It set him up, you thought, to have success at Michigan. Hasn't worked out well. I mean, just hasn't. But, yeah, at Stanford, that was a hell of a nice hire.
Yeah, I mean, he's won a lot of games, but he's very much on the hot seat right now. That's for sure. You know, they lose to Wisconsin this weekend. That would be an awful turn of events for him. But, yeah, very much a debated coach right now as far as how much longer he and Michigan are going to be partners in crime. But, yeah, I mean, he was very much under the radar during that Stanford tenure compared to now especially, and did a great job there.
Yeah. At number 1, Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Dabo was the wide receivers coach. He was the interim coach when they fired Tommy Bowden. And the Clemson faithful were like, well, no, I mean, this guy's just the wide receivers coach. What are you doing? Why don't you go get somebody? Interim coaches are supposed to be there for the rest of the year, and that's it. That he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Move on from Dabo. And now I think anybody who nobody in Clemson, South Carolina is going to admit that they said that. They're like, oh, we always knew that the wide receivers coach was the guy. He was the one who was going to bring us back to national prominence and make us one of the scariest programs to play in the entire country. Nope. Nobody knew it. Dabo Swinney was completely not a splash hire, and he has improved that program in so many ways. You can't even put words to it because they were and also ran in the ACC.
RG3, part of that deal today with him in the media session is that he called their offense archaic. And not that they don't get that. It's just that he said some of the things they were doing. Bruce Feldman asked him about it. I remember Swinney because I think Nebraska played them in a bowl game and beat Clemson. I didn't expect him to. Back then, they could win every once in a while. And I think Swinney might have been the interim coach. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, he took over as interim for, I guess it was like half the season or so after, Bowden was fired. But, yeah, no, Dabo, I mean, what a story. I certainly didn't know a lot about him. And now maybe amongst Clemson fans there was already talk about what a great recruiter – I'm sure there was. There was talk about what a great recruiter he was and, him moving up the charts. But, yeah, I don't you know how it is. You talk in certain circles and you learn a lot more of the details and things like that. Not being in the inner circle of Clemson football fans, I'm not sure what their viewpoint was, but nobody could have predicted the success he's had. I mean, no way.
All right, Paul, good stuff. Thank you very much. I was just off the phone with some things we'll have tomorrow involving the Pac-12 moving forward. Pretty positive news, I think, for them, which also then could be even more positive news for the Big 12. You may not think that way. I'll try to summarize and chew that up and get it to you sometime tomorrow.
You mean to tell me we're returning back to realignment news?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I think it's kind of positive. I think it's positive for Chapter 2.
That's 2,
a tease, baby. All right, for Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Jack McKenzie was at the media session with women's basketball. Armstrong Sims, thanks for those on the chat, the text, the calls. I am about to post something on Sikkim365.com in the premium section about the game day concerns and suggestions. Please read it carefully. I'm trying to help. And Mac wants this too. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.